Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Destined Antagonist. I refuse to annul the engagement. Chapter 1. Celestial Wonders Realm, Eastern Divine Continent. There is a divine mountain that seems to hang between heaven and earth, emitting a faint divine radiance. It appears ethereal, elusive, and like a marvelous sight. This is the ancestral land of the Zhang family, a clan with a long history and profound heritage that can be traced back to ancient times. Despite countless tribulations, they have remained unyielding. Although they are now in seclusion, every outstanding talent who emerges from their trials becomes renowned and possesses unparalleled aptitude. The entire Celestial Wonders realm can only be associated with a few families, and the Zhang family is one of them. In a courtyard deep within the Divine Mountain, Shuaner, the current Divine Maiden of the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect, is willing to form a marriage alliance with our Zhang family. She even named you specifically, expressing her willingness to become your Tao companion, supporting each other, and even helping our lineage ascend to the position of the legitimate successor, assisting you in becoming the young clan leader. The clan hopes that you can accept this. It is a powerful alliance that will bring great benefits. An old man dressed in a robe with intricate patterns smiled kindly and spoke to the handsome young man before him. He is the most extraordinary existence in their lineage for thousands of years, with a purity of ancestral blood reaching 75%. He has even become one of the most dazzling geniuses in the Zhang family, known as one of the Four Eminent Ones. Even the divine maidens of the ancient major sects are willing to take the initiative to become his Tao companions, bringing great honor to their lineage. The resources within the clan will also be more inclined towards him, which is a tremendous advantage. Even he couldn't help but feel a little excited. Zhang Zan raised his gaze slightly, and a hint of surprise appeared in his calm pupils. The Desolate Heaven Divine Maiden, the one with the mystic yin sacred body. She actually wants to become my Tao companion. Could there be hidden motives? I think we need to consider this. Zhang Zan showed a hint of caution because he had crossed over to this world 18 years ago and had displayed exceptional talents since he was young. He had even become a true disciple, raising his status within the clan. He had thought that he was the protagonist of destiny, deserving of such treatment as a transmigrator. However, unexpected events occurred. During a trial, he encountered a remnant soul claiming to be a true god, displaying extraordinary divine abilities. He thought he had great luck and revealed his imposing aura, causing ancient powerhouses to bow down and willingly submit. However, he accepted the inheritance without any precautions and was directly attacked by the other party. If it weren't for the protection of his ancestral mark, expelling the intruder from his body, Zhang Zan would probably have become a corpse, the fastest dead transmigrator. There was also a time when a treasure suddenly appeared in an ancient secret realm, rumored to be a relic from the ancient era, causing countless geniuses to fight over it. Zhang Zan finally managed to approach it, but the treasure flew directly towards him. He thought he was the chosen one favored by heaven and earth, and that the treasure would willingly recognize him as its master, securing his future. After all, weren't all transmigrators like this? But once again, unexpected events occurred. That treasure turned out to be a disguise of the demonic sect and had a spiritual connection. It only wanted to devour his essence because his bloodline purity was relatively high. He was heavily injured and managed to escape. It couldn't have been more disastrous. Such incidents happened multiple times. It was incredibly difficult for him to reach his current position. Now, the Desolate Heaven Divine Maiden was willing to become his Tao companion, and they had only met 3 times during their trials. Is this really okay? Zhang Zan felt a little anxious. Based on the past setting, he was most likely to step into a pit when the benefits were greater. The greater the benefits, the bigger the pit. What is there to consider? If you become the Tao companion of the Desolate Heaven Divine Maiden, you will receive the assistance of a major sect. The other 3 eminent ones will also be unable to contend with you. You will become the new pillar of the Zhang family, smoothly inheriting the position of the clan leader. Who can compete with you? But before that, you need to break off the engagement that your father arranged for you, and your current fiancé has become useless and is no longer worthy of you. A year ago, she was still an outstanding talent with a strong bloodline and fast cultivation speed. At the age of 17, she had reached the 4th stage of soul awakening, with hopes of returning to the main lineage. But due to a sudden change, her meridians were shattered, and she could no longer absorb spiritual energy, becoming unable to cultivate. Such a weak person is not worthy of following in your footsteps. Your future offspring will also become weak. This is her information. I hope you can handle it properly." The expression of the clan elder became heavy, and he threw a piece of rice paper in his hand. The ink on it seemed alive, recording all the information about Nangong Mingyu. She had never met Zhang Zan, but she had heard of him. It was just an agreement between the older generations, and Zhang Zan did not actively inquire about it. Zhang Zan looked carefully and couldn't help but be stunned. Nangong Mingyu was a genius in the border city, somewhat famous. At the age of only 17, she was recruited by the prestigious Jade Mountain Mansion. Her future achievements were outstanding, and she might even bring their lineage back to the Nangong family. Everything was developing in a good direction, but Nangong Mingyu suddenly had her meridians severed and her dantian shattered. She couldn't cultivate spiritual energy anymore and became a waste overnight. She was mocked and ridiculed by countless people. Zhang Zan was slightly stunned. What the? Cancel the engagement? How the hell is that possible? She's clearly the protagonist of this template. Even if she's a desolate heaven goddess, she's worth more than 10 of them combined. Such an existence, even if severely injured and falling off a cliff, can obtain countless benefits and be reborn. She's definitely a future beneficiary. After finally having a pie fall from the sky, how could I, Zhang Zan, easily let go? Immediately, he looked at the clan elder and responded. Elder, since we have agreed to the engagement, I, Zhang Zan, am not someone who starts trouble and abandons it. Even if Nangong Mingyu's cultivation is completely ruined, she is still my fiancée. I hope you can convey to the clan that Zhang Zan cannot comply and refuses to cancel the engagement. The smile on the clan elder's face suddenly disappeared. This was not the result he had expected. Refuse to cancel the engagement. She's just a useless person. Even if she has an extraordinary appearance and is as beautiful as a flower, she's not worth it for you to do this. Has Zhang Zan gone crazy? Moreover, as long as he cancels the engagement, he can become the Tao companion of the desolate heaven goddess and gain supreme power in the future. He can control the longevity family, surpassing all beings. He can even have access to the resources of the two major forces, allowing him to go further on the path of cultivation. He didn't even consider it. Instead, he chose a useless person. The clan elder felt that the world had gone mad, and he was dreaming. Zhang Zan, we are doing this for your own good. You must think it through. This will be an obstacle to your future. How can you let emotions guide your actions and go further on the path of cultivation? The clan elder waved his sleeve, his voice low and his expression serious. However, Zhang Zan shook his head calmly. I'm sorry, my mind is made up. Ding, congratulations on breaking a setting. Continue according to the setting, and you will live a mediocre life and perish among the masses. You refused to cancel the engagement and gain the luck of the protagonist. You have become a great lucky person. Luck has increased. You are blessed by your ancestors, and the purity of your bloodline will reach 90% within 10 days, making you the strongest bloodline of the contemporary Zhang family. Zhang Zan was slightly stunned. Finally, I activated my Goldfinger. Those who go with the flow are ordinary, while those who go against it become extraordinary. Cultivation itself defies the heavens, so how can one simply conform to predetermined norms and live a mediocre life? Every time you break through these norms and change your own destiny, you will receive rewards. Looking at the system prompt, Zhang Zan pondered. No wonder he had faced so many tribulations in the past 18 years. So he had been wrong all along. As the rewards descended, Zhang Zan's bloodline roared within him, emitting a brilliant divine radiance. It seemed to contain endless rules, clearly displaying its extraordinary nature. Immediately, Zhang Zan looked at the clan elder and spoke firmly, this matter shall not be mentioned again. Even if Nangong Mingyu is just an ordinary person, I will protect her and ensure her worry-free longevity. Then he issued the order to expel the guest, saying, Clan elder, I have gained some insights. Please take your leave. The clan elder's eyebrows trembled with anger, wanting to advise Zhang Zan against acting impulsively. However, upon seeing Zhang Zan's bloodline surging as if he had gained new insights, the clan elder immediately fell silent and left. These are all later events, which are not as important as Zhang Zan's own cultivation progress. Leaving the cave mansion where Zhongzhan was located, he returned to the ancestral hall of their lineage. Many elders were present, and upon seeing the return of the clan elder, they looked at him with questioning eyes. The clan elder hesitated, unable to speak, and shook his head with a long sigh. Xuan'er refuses to annul the engagement and wishes to marry the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect's Divine Maiden. What? The elders' expressions froze, instantly showing disbelief. That Nangong girl from the Nangong family has already become a useless person. How can she compare to the Divine Maiden of the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect? The eldest elder sitting in the first seat frowned, his face showing seriousness. This was troublesome. Forming an alliance with the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect was a major event for their lineage. It was not as simple as refusing. After all, with the status of the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect, actively proposing an alliance by name was already a gesture of lowering themselves. If they decisively refused, it would be like slapping the other party's face. The Desolate Heaven Divine Sect would definitely be angry. How could they not be? Once they became enraged, even if it was just a slight signal, it would greatly hinder Zhongzhan's pursuit of the position of the Zhong family's divine son and successor clan leader. The eldest elder's face darkened slightly, showing concern. If Zhongzhan really refuses the alliance, our lineage will definitely incur the wrath of the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect. Our lineage has just started to flourish and cannot withstand the anger of the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect. The clan elder's eyebrows trembled, and he said in a deep voice, "But this is Xuan'er's marriage. Naturally, we should prioritize his wishes." But the eldest elder wanted to say something more, but was interrupted by the clan elder. "Let's discuss it when Xuan'er comes out of seclusion." Looking at the elders, the clan elder's tone became serious. "This matter is of great importance. It must not be leaked until a decision is made." Yes, the elders' minds tightened, and they quickly agreed. But their brows furrowed involuntarily, filled with confusion and worry. In terms of talent, appearance, background, and potential, the Desolate Heaven Divine Maiden was far superior to Nangong Mingyu. Why did Zhongzhan insist on the Nangong family's girl and adamantly refuse to annul the engagement? If they truly angered the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect, their lineage would face great difficulties. Zhongzhan's pursuit of the position of clan leader would also become extremely challenging. What was Zhongzhan being stubborn about? Although the clan elder strictly prohibited the leakage of information, there are no walls that don't let the wind through. The news of Zhongzhan's refusal to marry the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect had already spread throughout the entire Zhong family within a few hours, thanks to the deliberate efforts of certain individuals. For a while, the entire Zhong family was in an uproar. Tens of thousands of clan members, from top to bottom, looked at Zhongzhan's cave mansion with puzzled eyes. What is he doing? Zhongzhan actually refused. In Zhong Minghao's cave mansion, one of the four esteemed figures of the Zhong family, Zhong Minghao stood up in astonishment upon hearing the news. His eyes, filled with profound insight, pierced through the void and gazed at Zhongzhan's lineage, staring for a long time. His brows gradually furrowed, filled with doubt. Has Zhongzhan gone mad? Such a great opportunity, and he actually refused. You must know that the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect is no weaker than their ancient sect, the Zhong family. It reigns over a vast region, holding the lives and deaths of billions of cultivators in its hands. This generation's Desolate Heaven Divine Maiden has even awakened the rare mystic Yin's sacred body in thousands of years. With such high talent, she is on par with the first-generation Divine Lord of the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect. Experts skilled in divination have speculated that once this generation's Desolate Heaven Divine Maiden rises, she may surpass the realm of true gods and dominate the celestial wonders realm. With such power and such a heavenly pride, Zhongzhan actually decisively refused to marry her. And all for the sake of a marriage contract. Moreover, the other party in the marriage contract is a person who has severed their meridians and cannot cultivate. To waste such a fortuitous encounter, truly reckless. A faint smile appeared on Zhong Minghao's lips as the stone weighing on his heart finally fell. If Zhongzhan's lineage truly forms an alliance with the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect, Zhongzhan will undoubtedly receive the support of the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect, which would be a tremendous pressure for them. The strength of the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect is on par with the Chengsheng Zhong family. As long as the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect sends a signal to support Zhongzhan's lineage, the competition for the position of the Zhong family's divine child and clan leader would be almost certain for Zhongzhan. For this reason, his lineage has even prepared for a desperate struggle. In fact, the other two lineages are the same. But unexpectedly, things have taken a turn. Zhongzhan has actually refused the alliance with the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect. Zhang Minghao pondered for a moment, his eyes flickering, and looked at the clan elder with a smile, saying, Zhongzhan's lineage has only recently risen. I wonder if they can withstand the wrath of the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect. The clan elder understood and nodded slightly, smiling lightly. I will pass on the message to the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect. If they have a falling out with Zhongzhan's lineage, they are already defeated. Zhang Minghao nodded, stood with his hands behind his back, and appeared thoughtful. A divine aura surrounded him, quite extraordinary. As if he had thought of something, he added, also, please ask the clan elder to send a signal to the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect. I have had a long-standing relationship with the Desolate Heaven Goddess. If there is a chance, I would like to have a discussion with her. The clan elder's eyes brightened at his words. The Desolate Heaven Divine Sect being rejected by Zhongzhan's lineage would be a blow to their reputation, and if it were to spread, they might be ridiculed by countless forces in the Celestial Wonders realm. But if they were to go along with it and form an alliance with Zhongzhan's lineage, it would still be seen as an alliance with the Chengsheng Zhong family, thus preserving the face of the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect. Moreover, Zhang Minghao and Zhongzhan were both among the four esteemed figures of the Zhong family, and in terms of talent, strength, and background, they were not inferior to Zhongzhan in any aspect. I believe the Desolate Heaven Divine Sect will not refuse our goodwill. The clan elder chuckled, stroking his beard. At this moment, in Zhongzhan's cave mansion, blood radiated with a brilliant light, like a gushing blood spring, flowing gently. The surging power of bloodline coursed through the heavens and earth. Faintly, there were countless profound rules permeating from the void, slowly entering Zhongzhan's body, refining his bloodline and tempering his physical body. Buzz. Zhongzhan slowly opened his eyes, and a dazzling brilliance burst forth from his eyes, as if containing ancient mysteries. The concentration of my bloodline has reached 77. Zhongzhan couldn't help but smile as he sensed his own bloodline. The concentration of one's bloodline is innate and can hardly be improved in one's lifetime, unless one has an extraordinary opportunity to obtain those legendary treasures. And in just a few hours, he has increased it by a full 2%. Don't be fooled by the mere 2% increase, the change in his talent can be considered a significant transformation. Among the four esteemed members of the Zhong family, he has always held the upper hand, vaguely suppressing the other three, all because his bloodline concentration reached 75, while the other three only reached around 70. Now that he has once again increased by 2%, he can naturally suppress the other three more easily. It is said that Zhang Minghao has recently had many opportunities and his strength has clearly improved. It seems that his cultivation has surpassed him. However, Zhongzhan is confident that he can still easily defeat him. Bloodline concentration continues to increase. After 3 days, it will increase to 80%, undergo a bloodline transformation, and inherit the 7-star technique of the Star Ancestor. Looking at the prompt, Zhongzhan couldn't help but sigh. Goldfinger is really a good thing. But immediately after, Zhongzhan thought of the matter of breaking off the engagement, and a hint of distress appeared in his eyes. Not to mention Goldfinger's requirements, just the background of that person clearly indicates that she is a protagonist chosen by destiny. If he were to break off the engagement, Zhongzhan would become a mini-boss villain in no time. No, I can't just sit here. I have to do something for my fiancée and increase her favorability. Zhongzhan rubbed his chin and pondered. Immediately, Zhongzhan took out a piece of rice paper and used his own divine consciousness as a pen, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth as ink, to write down some words full of concern and solemnly promised to fully respect the other party. If the other party has no intention of canceling the engagement, he will not give up. Come in. A powerful member of the Zhong family at the profound earth realm walked in and bowed. Greetings, young master Zhongzhan. Zhongzhan personally sealed the envelope and at the same time took out a storage ring containing most of his recent collections. He handed them over to the other party and solemnly instructed, take this crane and deliver this letter to Nangong Mingyu as soon as possible. Do not delay. Yes, The Zhang family member nodded solemnly, turned around, and left the cave mansion. He summoned a crane at the Dao Fusion realm level and flew out of the Zhang family's divine mountain, soaring high in the clouds, and quickly headed towards the border region of the eastern divine continent where the Nangong family was located. You have once again broken a setting, gifting the protagonist chosen by destiny, assisting in her growth, successfully binding her. In the future, every time Nangong Mingyu gains enlightenment, you will also gain it, even doubled. As Nangong Mingyu's strength increases, her luck will also improve. Once recognized by heaven and earth, you will also be recognized after binding. Zhang Zan's eyes lit up. If the other party improves, he will also gain corresponding improvements. You should know, she is the protagonist chosen by destiny. Once Goldfinger is activated, his cultivation will skyrocket. Did I pack too little? Zhang Zan pondered for a moment and suddenly felt a bit regretful. Celestial Wonders Realm, Western Divine Continent. Above the desolate wilderness, a vast celestial mountain stretches across the clouds, surrounded by countless ancient patterns of light and darkness, giving people a sense of reverence and solemnity as if they were looking up at ancient gods. Suddenly, a resplendent divine sound, like thunder, shook the celestial mountain, causing the heavens and earth to churn, and all living beings in the desolate wilderness trembled. The Zhang family dares to go too far. At the peak of the celestial mountain, the desolate heaven god lord sat high on the desolate heaven temple. Upon learning of Zhang Zan's refusal to marry, he immediately exploded with anger and shouted in rage. The desolate heaven god lord's face was full of killing intent, and his divine eyes emitted a cold light as he coldly shouted, "Send the lord of the dark abyss to the Zhang family and ask that Zhang Zan, what makes him think he's not worthy of our desolate heaven goddess?" The entire desolate heaven divine sect, including all the geniuses and powerhouses, trembled in their hearts. The lord of the dark abyss was a killing god. There was once a first-class power that did not respect him, the desolate heaven divine sect. When the lord of the dark abyss emerged, he killed tens of thousands of their disciples, destroyed their lineage, and all three of their venerable ancestors fell. The fact that the lord of the dark abyss was being sent out meant that they were truly angry. But when they thought about it, the fact that the Zhang family's child dared to refuse the marriage proposal filled everyone with righteous indignation and anger. They thought of the desolate heaven goddess, not to mention the fact that she was backed by the desolate heaven divine sect and had an extraordinary background. Just in terms of talent, she possessed the mystic yin sacred body, with talent comparable to the founder of the sect, and had an invincible demeanor. Moreover, her stunning beauty could rival that of the celestial immortals, the geniuses of the various major sects and families of the profound heaven, all admired and loved her. The goddess had set her heart on Zhang Zan, and they were already dissatisfied, thinking that he was far from being worthy. But at the repeated request of the goddess, they lowered their status and took the initiative to propose a marriage alliance with the Zhang family. But that brat from the Zhang family actually dared to refuse. The reason was that he already had an engagement. They had also heard about that engagement. The woman was just a member of a small family on the border, and her meridians were severed, making her a useless person. To refuse the desolate heaven goddess for a useless person. Did they think they were idiots? Who the hell could believe such a lousy reason? They were all cultivators, and being heartless and ungrateful was the norm. To give up on great opportunities for the sake of a useless person. Unless that Zhang Zan was an idiot. It was obvious that the Zhang family's child simply looked down on their goddess and deliberately made up an excuse to brush them off. Hold on. At this moment, Luo Xinglan, the desolate heaven goddess, who had been standing quietly on the side, quickly stepped forward to dissuade them. First, she respectfully bowed to the desolate heaven god lord, and then looked at the many elders and geniuses in the hall with a calm expression, neither sad nor happy, as if she herself was not the one being rejected. A marriage alliance should be a mutual agreement. Since Zhang Zan is unwilling, then let it be. How can we force him? If this were to spread, how would the billions of cultivators in the profound heaven view me, Luo Xinglan? Can't get married, or can't find a man. Luo Xinglan's lips curled up slightly, revealing a faint smile, like a shooting star tearing through the sky, dazzling and radiant. As soon as these words came out, it caused a commotion like throwing a stone into calm water. All the elders and geniuses anxiously said, "Goddess, you must not." A black-robed elder with a fierce expression looked at Luo Xinglan and said in a low, Stern voice, Goddess, you must not show kindness to someone who doesn't know how to appreciate it. Since Zhongzhan looks down on you like this, obviously he is not a suitable match. Why would the goddess still speak to him? The desolate heaven god lord stared at Luo Xinglan, his eyes also filled with confusion, and said in a deep voice, Xinglan, do you know that if this matter were to spread, your reputation would also be tarnished? Even our desolate heaven divine sect would be ridiculed by the major forces of the profound heaven. To actively seek a marriage alliance and be heartlessly rejected, when has our desolate heaven divine sect ever been humiliated like this? Luo Xinglan's beautiful eyes trembled slightly, feeling somewhat helpless. How could she not know that this matter would damage the reputation of the desolate heaven divine sect? But, Zhongzhan, she absolutely couldn't offend him. She had a secret that no one knew. In fact, she was a reincarnated person. In her previous life, with the unmatched talent of the mystic yin sacred body, she had swept through her generation's geniuses, achieving an unparalleled reputation. She had once led the desolate heaven divine sect to dominate the celestial wonders realm. But 100 years later, the desolate heaven divine sect encountered a great calamity. Powerful enemies attacked, and the once mighty desolate heaven divine sect was overturned in an instant. Even she was powerless to resist and died in battle. In this life, in order to prevent this from happening again, she had been seeking a way to break the cycle. But as a reincarnated person, her soul was damaged, and her memories were forcibly sealed. She only remembered sporadic events from her past life. Among them, the most memorable was Zhongzhan. If she was the invincible genius of her previous life, then Zhongzhan was the powerhouse who suppressed the entire profound heaven with a single hand. Even before she broke through to the true God realm, Zhongzhan had already broken free from the constraints of the celestial wonders realm and ascended to pursue a higher path. So, she wanted to seek Zhongzhan's help. And the most reliable method, of course, was marriage and becoming Tao companions. For this matter, she had made numerous inquiries about Zhongzhan, including his engagement. She thought that with her status and talent, marriage should have been a natural outcome. But she didn't expect Zhongzhan to be so loyal and devoted, even when the woman had become a cripple. A person with such loyalty and devotion, if they show goodwill now, they are more likely to help my desolate heaven divine sect overcome the great calamity. Luo Xinglan couldn't help but feel delighted, thinking that she had chosen the right person. As for whether or not to marry, that is just a method, not the result. Even without marriage, she can still show goodwill. Perhaps, it would be more suitable to follow him. Luo Xinglan secretly pondered. Immediately, Luo Xinglan raised her beautiful eyes and looked at the desolate heaven divine lord, respectfully bowing, the fault lies not with the other party. If we insist on causing trouble, it will only make our sect appear too domineering and unnecessarily offend the Zhang family. It's not worth it. It was my own impulsiveness that caused this, not understanding the other party's intentions and insisting on marriage, which brought shame to our sect. I know my mistake and hope that the Divine Lord will punish me. You, looking at Luo Xinglan, the desolate heaven Divine Lord sighed softly, somewhat helpless, and waved his hand to settle the matter. Since you put it that way, then let it be. Let's put this matter behind us and never mention it again. Luo Xinglan was the most promising goddess of their sect since ancient times, with a great chance of leading their sect back to its peak and dominating the celestial wonders realm. How could he bear to punish her? Although the hasty marriage caused this series of absurd events, in the end, it only damaged their reputation, which was not a big deal. Moreover, even if the major forces in the celestial wonders realm wanted to ridicule their desolate heaven divine sect, they had to consider whether they could withstand the wrath of their sect. The elders and geniuses could only suppress their anger and swallow their grievances. At this moment, the black-robed elder thought of something and bowed again, saying, reporting to the Divine Lord, when the elder of the Zhang family passed on this message, he also mentioned that one of the 4 outstanding talents of the Zhang family, Zhang Minghao, has had a close relationship with the goddess for a long time and wants to find an opportunity to discuss the Tao with the goddess. I wonder. Upon hearing this, everyone's expressions changed. They were not fools and could understand the implications of these words. A close relationship and discussing the Tao. Was Zhang Minghao intentionally seeking a marriage with the goddess? If that was the case, it might not be a bad idea. After all, As one of the 4 outstanding talents of the Zhang family, Zhang Minghao's talent and strength were not weaker than Zhang Zan's. He was also a strong competitor for the position of the Zhang family's divine child and even the clan leader. Marrying him would be equivalent to marrying into the prestigious Zhang family, which would naturally save face for their desolate heaven divine sect. Everyone couldn't help but look at Luo Xinglan. The desolate heaven divine lord also looked at Luo Xinglan. This method was feasible, but the prerequisite for its feasibility was whether Luo Xinglan was willing. Luo Xinglan frowned. Zhang Minghao, who is that? I've never heard of him. She didn't have any memories of Zhang Minghao from her past life, not even a hint of familiarity. It seemed, he was just an ordinary genius who wanted to discuss the Tao and marry her. Did he really think she had no other options? Luo Xinglan's face immediately turned cold, and she uttered disdainfully, "Is he even worthy?" As soon as these words came out, everyone's expressions froze for a moment as they stared blankly at Luo Xinglan, their faces filled with confusion. If Zhang Minghao wasn't worthy, then why did you insist on marrying Zhang Zan? Aren't they the same? Seeing the goddess's cold attitude, everyone understood and didn't say anything more. And so, they all left the main hall. Luo Xinglan also took her leave and returned to her own cave mansion, but she couldn't focus on cultivation. She sat on the spiritual stone jade, lost in thought. Since the method of marriage had already failed, what should she do? Should she take the initiative to befriend Zhang Zan and follow him? As she thought about it, Luo Xinglan remembered being rejected, and a trace of girlish resentment finally appeared on her cold face. Who rejects someone right off the bat? At least meet me first. What's wrong with me? Luo Xinglan pouted and hummed angrily. Is Zhang Zan really that loyal and devoted? He didn't abandon a person whose meridians were severed. Luo Xinglan's beautiful eyes flickered, full of curiosity about Zhang Zan. Wait, Nangong Mingyu, Luo Xinglan suddenly exclaimed, her eyes filled with deep confusion. Why did this name feel so familiar to her? Could it be that this Nangong Mingyu was also a powerful figure in her past life? A person with severed meridians, could it be? Meanwhile, on the border of the eastern divine continent, in Hengyu City where the Nangong family resides. Within the Nangong family, in a slightly barren training ground, the younger generation of the Nangong family sat cross-legged, listening to the guidance of the elder in martial arts. In a corner of the training ground, a woman dressed in simple training clothes had her eyes closed tightly, as if she was diligently cultivating. Although her training clothes were plain, they couldn't hide her stunning beauty. Between her delicate eyebrows, there was a hint of determination, naturally exuding an indescribable ethereal temperament, as if a celestial immortal had descended to the mortal world, standing alone. However, she was now covered in sweat, her face showing signs of struggle, indicating that the process of cultivation was not going smoothly. The disciples listening to the lecture would occasionally glance at this woman, their expressions varied, filled with pity, indifference, and mockery. The elder of the Nangong family glanced at the woman, unable to help but sigh. Was it true that the pride of the Nangong family's younger generation would really fall like this? Yes, this woman was Nangong Mingyu, the fiancée of Zhang Zan, who had not yet met. Elder, I have done as you instructed, why is my cultivation still progressing so slowly? Nangong Mingyu reluctantly opened her beautiful eyes, questioning the remnant soul that resided within her. A year ago, by chance, she awakened the remnant soul that had been dormant in the ancestral shrine of the Nangong family. The remnant soul claimed to be a close friend of the Nangong family's ancestor, once a supreme godly powerhouse known as Fairy Bright Moon. Due to certain circumstances, she perished in a great calamity, with only a trace of her remnant soul surviving until now. Nangong Mingyu was overjoyed and incorporated the remnant soul into her body, nourishing it with her own spiritual power. The other party was also extremely generous, giving her a cultivation technique that, once successful, could reshape her physique and possess an invincible appearance. Nangong Mingyu had no doubts and actively cultivated this technique. However, this technique was too domineering, requiring her to first destroy her dantian and meridians, and obtain creation from destruction in order to reshape her physique. Fairy Bright Moon repeatedly assured her that with her help, she would succeed within a year. But, a year had already passed, and she had only managed to restore her dantian and meridians, far from reaching the level of reshaping her physique. She felt like she had been deceived. Because, over the past year, She clearly felt that the remnant soul within her seemed to have become more abundant, which made her suspect that the other party was using her. How would I know that your lineage has fallen to such a state? You don't even have basic healing elixirs. Fairy Bright Moon knew that Nangong Mingyu now held a grudge against her, but she was also helpless. In the era she existed in, the Nangong family of this lineage was on par with those immortal families, filled with powerful individuals and profound heritage, with several holy medicines at their disposal. In her opinion, a mere healing elixir should be easy to obtain. But she never expected. Without healing elixirs, it took Nangong Mingyu a full 10 months just to restore her dantian and meridians, and that was with the assistance of her soul power. Otherwise, it was uncertain whether she could even recover. At this moment, a clear crane cry pierced through the sky. Everyone was startled and looked up at the sky. A powerful figure wearing Taoist robes and carrying the Zhang family's divine command token, descended on a crane and landed in the training ground. The imposing aura of a profound earth realm naturally spread, suppressing the entire training ground. The faces of the Nangong family members changed. It was a profound earth realm expert from the immortal Zhang family. It should be noted that the strongest in their entire Hengyu city was only at the Dao fusion realm. But anyone from the immortal Zhang family who stepped out was a powerful expert at the profound earth realm. I ask the esteemed one, what brings you here? The Nangong elder stepped forward and respectfully clasped his hands. The Zhang family expert glanced at the Nangong elder, his eyebrows slightly furrowed, and asked calmly, where is Nangong Mingyu? Zhang Zan has a message for her. Upon hearing this, the crowd's expressions changed, and they immediately began to speculate. Is it about breaking off the engagement, or has it finally arrived? The Nangong elder's face slightly changed, and he couldn't help but sigh. The inevitable had finally come. Their Nangong family, a small family located on the border of the Eastern Divine Continent, couldn't even compare to a single hair of the mighty Zhang family. Moreover, the Nangong family has been declining in recent years, and in the past few years, they have been suppressed by several other major families in Hengyu City, and they are already in a precarious situation. However, it is also fortunate that the Nangong family has produced a talented girl who has gained recognition from Jade Mountain Mansion and has even caught the attention of the Chengsheng Zhang family, resulting in an engagement. Because of the relationship with Jade Mountain Mansion and this marriage contract, the Nangong family has overcome difficulties and has become stronger, gradually showing signs of becoming the #1 family in Hengyu City. But the good times didn't last long. A year ago, Nangong Mingyu suddenly experienced a drastic change, with her meridians severed, dantian destroyed, and cultivation lost. The once talented girl fell from grace. A month ago, a strong individual from Jade Mountain Mansion came to investigate Mingyu's injuries. Seeing that she had not recovered, they left with a cold face, taking away her status as a disciple of Jade Mountain Mansion. At that time, everyone in the family speculated that the Chengsheng Zhang family might soon break off the engagement. After all, as the most outstanding genius of the Chengsheng family, how could they tolerate having a partner who can no longer cultivate? To be honest, they were mentally prepared for this. However, when reality came, they still found it difficult to accept. Upon hearing this, Nangong Mingyu calmly stood up and walked in front of the strong individual from the Zhang family. I am Nangong Mingyu, the youngest daughter. The Zhang family breaking off the engagement was something she had long expected. She had reservations about this arranged marriage forced upon her by her parents, especially since she didn't even know what the other person looked like. Now that it was broken off, it was also a good thing. Although it was somewhat humiliating. But, who knows, maybe Nangong Mingyu can rise again and reach the pinnacle of the profound heaven. At that time, she will repay everything. As the saying goes, do not underestimate a poor youth. She has confidence in herself. The strong individual from the Zhang family looked deeply at Nangong Mingyu, feeling doubtful but not saying much. They directly handed over the letter and storage ring to her. He had also heard about Zhang Zan's refusal to break off the engagement, but that was an upper-level matter, and he had no right to interfere. Taking the letter and storage ring, Nangong Mingyu remained calm as usual, without any fluctuations in her expression, not even showing any intention to open the letter. You don't need to be angry. It's only a matter of time before you reshape your supreme physique and rise again, Fairy Bright Moon said in a cold tone. Although the Zhang family is an ancient family, if you achieve great accomplishments in your cultivation, there is still a chance to surpass them and avenge today's humiliation. After a year of getting to know each other, Fairy Bright Moon genuinely liked and pitied her successor. She was also extremely displeased with her successor being broken off from the engagement. The elder of the Nangong family sighed inwardly, looking at Nangong Mingyu with some pity. This child had suffered over the past year. However, the gazes of the younger disciples held a different meaning. Perhaps there was some sympathy, but more of it was greed. Their eyes were focused on the storage ring in Nangong Mingyu's hand. It was obviously compensation from the Zhang family for breaking off the engagement, and it must contain many precious cultivation resources. If they could seize it. Suddenly, a junior disciple, Nangong Qingfeng, stepped forward, snatched the letter and storage ring, and sneered, "Nangong Mingyu, you are nothing but a waste now. Using these cultivation resources would be a waste on you. It's better to contribute them to the family, which can be considered as the family benefiting from your misfortune." Nangong Mingyu's face turned cold, and she said in a cold voice, "I don't need you to tell me what to do." Nangong Qingfeng's face immediately turned ugly as he stared at Nangong Mingyu, his eyes filled with deep resentment. A waste like her dared to act so arrogantly. Are you still the talented girl from back then? Tightening his grip on the letter, Nangong Qingfeng revealed a cold smile and said word by word, "Cousin, why don't you read Zhang Zan's letter? Are you too afraid to face the reality of being broken off from the engagement? If that's the case, let your cousin take care of it." Tearing open the letter, spiritual energy surged out, and Zhang Zan's concerned voice slowly sounded. "The engagement is already set. You are my wife, and I will protect you. When I grow stronger, I will reshape you and step into the path of cultivation." The whole scene fell silent, and everyone was stunned, unable to believe what they were seeing, as if they had seen a ghost. No, it wasn't a break-off. Plop! Nangong Qingfeng immediately collapsed on the ground, his face filled with fear. The Zhang family did not break off the engagement. Nangong Mingyu was still the fiancé of Zhang Zan, the young master of the Zhang family. So, wasn't what he had just done seeking death? Nangong Qingfeng quickly crawled in front of Nangong Mingyu and cautiously handed over the letter and storage ring. Nangong Mingyu glanced lightly at the other person, took back the letter and storage ring, lowered her gaze, and waves of ripples surged in her heart, making her extremely unsettled. The other person was actually willing to stay by her side and even promised to help her rebuild her physique. Fairy Bright Moon fell into silence as well. In the treacherous cultivation world, there were still people who made such heavy promises. Thinking of her past, she suddenly felt melancholic, sighed lightly, and urged Nangong Mingyu, "Look at what cultivation resources are in the storage ring. If there are 1 or 2 large medicinal plants, I am confident that I can help you return to the Soul Realm within 3 months." Nangong Mingyu nodded, and her divine sense swept through the storage ring, and then froze. Tai Bai Azure Lotus, with the effect of calming the mind and assisting in cultivation. Profound Earth Ginseng. When breaking through the Profound Earth realm in the Tao Fusion realm, refining this ginseng can increase the chance of a breakthrough by 10%. Fireweed, a king-grade medicine of the Fire Tao, containing a large amount of fire-related rules. 9 Dragon Vine, June Cold Dew, Dragon Blood Fruit. There were dozens of king-grade medicines alone, not to mention the countless large and spiritual medicines. It should be noted that spiritual medicines were already very precious cultivation resources, and large medicines were even rarer. In the entire Hengyu city, there were only a few, let alone king-grade medicines. Even the 2 top forces in the surrounding area, Jade Mountain Mansion and Azure Sun Gate, considered king-grade medicines to be extremely precious cultivation resources and would not easily use them. A warm current surged in Nangong Mingyu's heart. In the year since she fell from grace, she had suffered countless disdain and insults, and almost no one looked up to her. But she didn't expect that her fiancé, who had never seen her face, not only didn't despise her for being a waste, but also helped her so wholeheartedly and directly sent so many cultivation king-grade medicines. She understood that even if he was the young master of the Zhang family, it was not easy for him to take out so many king-grade medicines at once. Fairy Bright Moon also sensed the aura of the king-grade medicines in the storage ring and was instantly shocked. Dozens of king-grade medicines. Is he being so generous? Are there really people in this cultivation world who are so loyal and devoted? Fairy Bright Moon was lost in thought. It should be known that these were all treasures related to rebuilding meridians and breaking through realms, surpassing the medicinal list she had given to Nangong Mingyu by 2 or 3 levels. Now she had absolute confidence in restoring Nangong Mingyu. When the strong members of the Zhang family heard the words of the young master, their hearts trembled. Only now did they realize how firm the young master's determination not to break off the engagement was. They immediately released the pressure of their profound earth realm, suppressing all directions, and coldly shouted, Nangong Mingyu is the fiancé of our Zhang family's young master. Anyone who dares to disrespect her is disrespecting the young master. Those who disrespect her shall be beheaded. The divine sound was like thunder, resounding throughout Hengyu City. The astonishing killing intent surged like angry waves, overturning heaven and earth. Inside and outside the dojo, countless people were instantly shocked and pale, unable to bear the pressure from the strong members of the Zhang family, and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. Their hearts were also filled with shock and disbelief. Zhang Zan, the young master, actually wanted to marry Nangong Mingyu, this waste. The gazes of the Nangong family disciples looking at Nangong Mingyu immediately changed, full of awe and respect, completely devoid of the previous mockery and ridicule. With the support of the Zhang family, even if this person could never cultivate, her status was far above theirs. She was not someone they could mock at will. At this moment, the expression of the Nangong family's elder changed, sighing with emotion. He never expected that the young master of the Zhang family would be so affectionate and righteous. Looking at Nangong Mingyu, his eyes were filled with relief. To have such a husband, Mingyu, you will have no worries in this life. At the same time, in a mansion, the steward of Jade Mountain Mansion stationed in Hengyu City was awakened from his cultivation by the warning of the strong members of the Zhang family. He looked towards the direction of the Nangong family with a terrified gaze. The Zhang family did not break off the engagement. His face immediately turned pale. This was trouble. Just a month ago, Jade Mountain Mansion had just regained the qualification of having Nangong Mingyu as a disciple. If the Zhang family were to find out, Jade Mountain Mansion would likely not be able to withstand their anger. After all, although Jade Mountain Mansion was a top force in the area, it was only a slightly larger ant in front of the colossal Longevity Zhang family. Once the Longevity Zhang family became furious, the fate of Jade Mountain Mansion would be decided with just a thought. The steward anxiously took out a secret order and quickly transmitted the news back to Jade Mountain Mansion. 3,000 miles away from Hengyu City, in a towering mountain, there stood numerous jade towers, surrounded by ethereal immortal energy, like a holy land. This is the location of the dojo in Jade Mountain Mansion. Upon receiving the news in the main hall of Jade Mountain Mansion, the Lord of Jade Mountain Mansion's face instantly changed, cold sweat dripping from his temples, and a deep fear surged in his heart. Fear of the Zhang family. Summon all the elders to the main hall for a meeting. The Lord of Jade Mountain Mansion said in a deep voice. After a moment, many elders of Jade Mountain Mansion, radiating divine brilliance, rushed into the main hall. Seeing the worried expression on the Lord's face, they couldn't help but feel puzzled. What could make the Lord so anxious? May I ask, Lord, what urgent matter has summoned us? The leading elder asked respectfully. The Lord of Jade Mountain Mansion looked at the elders and said in a deep voice, the Zhang family has not called off the engagement. What? The faces of the elders changed. The Zhang family has not called off the engagement. What is going on? This is impossible. The leading elder's face changed drastically, and he said with uncertainty, I personally investigated a month ago, and there was no sign of recovery in Nangong Mingyu. It is clear that she has become a waste unable to cultivate. Why would the young master of the Zhang family not call off the engagement? The elders looked at each other, puzzled and confused. The young master of the Zhang family is a peerless genius, with the opportunity to challenge the position of the Zhang family's divine child and clan leader, becoming the supreme powerhouse who rules over the heavens and earth in the Longevity River. How could such a proud talent tolerate having a waste as his Tao companion? The Lord of Jade Mountain Mansion also looked puzzled, but he had to suppress his confusion and said in a deep voice, now is not the time to dwell on this matter. Since the Zhang family has not called off the engagement, we must make a statement. If the Zhang family finds out that we have revoked Nangong Mingyu's disciple status, once they get angry, the consequences will be unimaginable. The hearts of the elders trembled, and their faces became ugly. They knew what this meant. They couldn't bear the anger of a prestigious family. The leading elder pondered for a moment, his face softened, and he said, I will go to the Nangong family now and restore her status as an inner disciple. But, the elders looked at each other, hesitating, will it be enough to just restore her status as an inner disciple? After all, we were the ones who revoked her status first. The leading elder shook his head and smiled, restoring Nangong Mingyu's status as an inner disciple is just for show. It's not really to make up for her. As long as we have damaged the Zhang family's reputation, it will be enough. I personally investigated Nangong Mingyu's condition. Her dantian is shattered, her meridians are severed, and there is no possibility of recovery. How could such a waste catch the eye of the young master? Calling off the engagement is just a matter of time. Being an inner disciple is enough. The leading elder showed a disdainful expression. He looked down on Nangong Mingyu, a mere waste. Granting her the status of an inner disciple was already a great opportunity for her. The lord and the elders were stunned, unable to keep up with the leading elder's train of thought. Then why not call off the engagement today? The leading elder shook his head and smiled, no reason, just for my own reputation. Nangong Mingyu cannot cultivate, her lifespan is short, at most 100 years. 100 years is just a blink of an eye for us, let alone for the young master. In 100 years, Nangong Mingyu will die of old age, and the young master will have achieved great cultivation and established a great reputation. At that time, it will be more suitable for him to find a Dao companion. In this way, he can also gain a good reputation and it will be beneficial for him to compete for the position of the divine child. Why not do it? After saying that, the leading elder confidently stroked his beard and smiled. Wise light flickered in his old eyes, as if he had seen through everything. The lord and the elders pondered, and after some contemplation, they deeply felt that the leading elder's words were highly likely to be true. Otherwise, it would be impossible to explain why the young master of the prestigious Zhang family, one of the most outstanding geniuses of this generation, would tolerate having a waste as his fiancé. If this were to be known, they would not only be ridiculed, but also lose face. The lord of Jade Mountain Mansion pondered for a moment and nodded thoughtfully. The leading elder has profound insights, what you said is true. Let's do as the leading elder suggested and restore Nangong Mingyu's status as an inner disciple. The leading elder bowed respectfully, I will follow your orders. Immediately, he waved his sleeve, walked out of the main hall, summoned the beast Jade Mountain Eagle, tore through the void, and leapt into the clouds, heading towards Hengyu City. After burning several sticks of incense, the Grand Elder arrived at the Nangong family and entered the dojo. He scanned the crowd and saw the strong members of the Zhang family, quickly stepping forward to greet them. The strong members of the Zhang family nodded lightly, not showing much courtesy despite the profound earth cultivation level of the other party. In this borderland, even if it was the Lord of Jade Mountain Mansion who personally came, they would still have to pay their respects. Because they represented the Zhang family. After the Grand Elder paid his respects, he turned to Nangong Mingyu and said, the Lord admires your unwavering determination and your unchanging pursuit of the Tao. He wishes to restore your status as an inner disciple. Are you willing? Upon hearing this, the onlookers from the Nangong family were stunned. Wasn't she expelled just a month ago? How could she regain her status as an inner disciple so quickly? The Grand Elder of the Nangong family stood to the side, his eyes slightly lowered. The sudden change in attitude from Jade Mountain Mansion was clearly because of the Zhang family. He couldn't help but sigh. Although Mingyu had lost her talent, she was fortunate enough to find such a fiancé. Nangong Mingyu's determined and resolute eyes trembled slightly. She was well aware that the so-called admiration for her unwavering determination was all nonsense. It was only because they feared her fiancé and feared the Zhang family's pursuit of responsibility that they wanted to make amends. A month ago, when the Grand Elder revoked her disciple status, she still vividly remembered his cold expression. Now they wanted to take her back. Nangong Mingyu sneered inwardly. Even though she had become a useless person, she still had her pride. She didn't need the scraps they offered. Just as she was about to refuse, a resounding voice suddenly echoed from the sky, filled with mockery. Fu Rong, you want to recruit a precious girl like Nangong Mingyu as an inner disciple? Isn't Jade Mountain Mansion a bit too petty? A middle-aged man in a white robe descended from the sky on a blazing fire crow, spreading intense heat waves that engulfed the area like a sea of fire, burning everything in its path. Everyone was shocked. It was Azure Sun Gate's gate master, Bei Qing. How did he come here? He was a formidable person, originally an independent cultivator who accidentally offended Jade Mountain Mansion and was ordered to be hunted down. But he managed to turn danger into fortune along the way, even killing several geniuses from Jade Mountain Mansion. Later, with his own adventures, he stepped into the Heavenly Origin realm and established Azure Sun Gate, standing on equal footing with Jade Mountain Mansion. After thousands of years of development, Azure Sun Gate had become a first-class power in this borderland. Although its foundation was weaker than Jade Mountain Mansion, its momentum far surpassed the latter. It was said that Bei Qing had reached the half-step Venerable Realm 100 years ago, just one step away from the Supreme Venerable Realm. The blazing fire crow under his feet had an extraordinary origin. It was said to be the guardian spirit beast passed down to Bei Qing, possessing a rare bloodline of the Golden Crow and strength comparable to an invincible venerable. This was one of the reasons why Azure Sun Gate, despite its weaker foundation, could stand on equal footing with Jade Mountain Mansion. Fu Rong looked towards the voice and his face darkened. Bei Qing, what does it have to do with you if my Jade Mountain Mansion recruits disciples? Bei Qing dismounted from the blazing fire crow and first greeted the strong members of the Zhang family. They were from the Zhang family, so even though his strength far surpassed theirs, he still had to be polite. He had no fear of Jade Mountain Mansion, but the longevity Zhang family, one couldn't help but be afraid. As a prestigious family with the name, longevity, their profound background was enough to shake the entire Celestial Wonders realm. Azure Sun Gate was nothing more than a small fry in front of them. Then, Bei Qing looked at Fu Rong and smiled playfully. Recruit disciples. Just inner disciples. Fu Rong, your vision is as bad as ever. When I wanted to join your sect, you said my talent was insufficient and that I couldn't comprehend the great Tao. You even had someone throw me out of Jade Mountain Mansion. Bei Qing crossed his hands behind his back and slowly walked up to Fu Rong, his face slightly cold. The towering Jade Mountain Mansion. At that time, I was only at the body refining realm. Fortunately, I survived. Not only did I survive, but I also achieved what I have today. Today, in front of a precious girl like her, you actually only allow her to be an inner disciple. Isn't your vision a bit too poor? The scene immediately erupted into an uproar. So there was such a grudge between Bei Qing and Jade Mountain Mansion. Fu Rong's face darkened, and he stared at Bei Qing, unable to retort. What Bei Qing said was true, and moreover, Bei Qing's current strength far surpassed his own. What do you want to do? Are you starting a war? My Jade Mountain Mansion will accompany you to the end. Fu Rong shouted in a low voice. The atmosphere at the scene instantly froze. Everyone's expressions tightened. Could it be that the only two overlords in this vast region were going to war today? Bei Qing chuckled. Start a war? You're not worthy. I want to let you know today just how poor your judgment is. Brushing aside the crowd, Bei Rong walked straight towards Nangong Mingyu and extended a golden token emitting a faint golden light. I want to take you as my disciple and make you the first true successor of Azure Sun Gate. What do you think? Everyone was taken aback. Was this person also here for Nangong Mingyu? The tense atmosphere immediately eased. All eyes were now focused on Nangong Mingyu, filled with confusion. Wasn't she a useless person? How did she suddenly become so popular? First, the elder of Jade Mountain Mansion wanted to restore her status as an inner disciple, and now even the master of Azure Sun Gate appeared, wanting to take her as a disciple. The first true successor. If nothing unexpected happened, she might even become the designated next master of Azure Sun Gate. What were these important figures thinking? She was Nangong Mingyu. A person with severed meridians, unable to cultivate. And the powerful Zhang family member who had been standing with his hands behind his back all this time, took a deep look at Bei Rong and revealed a faint smile. In other words, he was just trying to please his family's young master through Nangong Mingyu. The first true successor. It was indeed fitting for the identity of his Zhang family's future wife. Fu Rong stared fixedly at Bei Rong's back, his gloomy eyes filled with disdain and mockery. Taking Nangong Mingyu as the first true successor just to please the Zhang family. What a fool! Nangong Mingyu looked at the token that Bei Rong handed her, her expression inexplicable. Instead of reaching out to take it, she looked up at Bei Rong and calmly said, "May I ask, Master of Azure Sun Gate, are you interested in my talent or in my fiancé?" As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned, their hearts in an uproar. They had an instinctive feeling that Nangong Mingyu might have gone crazy. To say it so blatantly, isn't this slapping someone in the face? That's the first true successor of Azure Sun Gate. Obviously, it's just to please the Zhang family. Do you really think they are interested in your talent? Moreover, what talent do you have? A person with severed meridians and destroyed dantian, a completely useless person who can't cultivate. Bei Rong was also taken aback, obviously not expecting her to ask such a question. But he didn't show any anger, instead he was extremely frank and openly said, 70% to please the Zhang family, 30% for your talent. If the Zhang family appreciates you, it will greatly benefit Azure Sun Gate. We may even surpass Jade Mountain Mansion and become the sole ruler of this region. Furthermore, I also believe in the judgment of the Zhang family's young master. The woman he has chosen as his fiancée must be an exceptional beauty. Moreover, in you, I see my past self. Even if you fall into the dust, you remain resilient. This kind of determination is rare. If you can step onto the path again, I will entrust Azure Sun Gate to you. What's wrong with that? Nangong Mingyu was stunned. She didn't expect such an important figure to be so frank about wanting to please the Zhang family. In her heart, she suddenly felt a strong liking for this powerful individual. No longer hesitating, she took the token from his hand and knelt down on one knee. "Greetings, Master." Bei Rong smiled lightly and lifted her up with both hands, then announced loudly, "From now on, Nangong Mingyu is the first true successor of Azure Sun Gate. Anyone who disrespects her is challenging Azure Sun Gate." Everyone's hearts trembled, feeling a sense of disbelief. In just a short moment, the useless Nangong Mingyu had transformed into the true successor of Azure Sun Gate. Moreover, she was also the fiancée of the Zhang family's young master, above all others. Everyone stared at Nangong Mingyu in a daze, their hearts filled with complex emotions. The girl who was once a heavenly beauty seemed to have returned. Fu Rong, who witnessed this scene, was filled with unease. He didn't dare to stay any longer and quickly called for his spirit beast to leave. If Azure Sun Gate pleased the Zhang family and gained their appreciation, it would undoubtedly be a disaster for his Jade Mountain Mansion. What was even more fatal was, he seemed to have underestimated Nangong Mingyu's weight. Could it be that the young master of the Zhang family really has chosen Nangong Mingyu as his fiancé? On the way back, Fu Rong became more and more anxious as he pondered, filled with fear. It seemed that he had really misjudged the situation. This matter is settled, with the strong members of the Zhang family leaving first. Nangong Mingyu has become the true successor of Azure Sun Gate, and everything has been properly arranged. She has also informed the young lord about it. Bei Qing will temporarily stay at the Nangong family, allowing Nangong Mingyu to rest for a day before returning to Azure Sun Gate together. Within the Nangong family, the mood of the hundreds of members is tumultuous and surging. Today's events have far exceeded their expectations. They know that the once favored daughter of heaven has returned. As a result, when they pass by Nangong Mingyu's residence, they unconsciously lower their footsteps, fearing to disturb her. In the cultivation room of Nangong Mingyu's residence, Nangong Mingyu, sitting cross-legged on a mysterious jade, stared blankly at the storage ring in her hand, her thoughts surging, unable to calm down for a long time. She is well aware that everything today is all thanks to her fiancé, Zhang Zan. If it weren't for him, she would still be the trash who was ridiculed and looked down upon. Subconsciously tightening the ring, a firm determination flashed in Nangong Mingyu's bright and beautiful eyes. She must not disappoint Zhang Zan's high expectations. "Elder, please assist me in my cultivation," Nangong Mingyu said calmly. The remnant soul of Fairy Bright Moon flew out and subconsciously glanced at the ring in Nangong Mingyu's hand, a hint of sigh and deep envy flashed in her eyes. She also had a deeply memorable relationship in her lifetime, but she was not as lucky as Nangong Mingyu. In order to break through the realm above true God, Nangong Mingyu's fiancé didn't hesitate to launch a surprise attack on her, forcibly depriving her of her Dao foundation. If it weren't for her treasure protecting her, allowing a strand of her remnant soul to escape, she would have been refined into a puppet by him. After calming her emotions a bit, Fairy Bright Moon solemnly said, "Take out the fireweed of departed fire, I will help you refine it. With this Fire Dao King medicine, you can preliminarily reshape your physique and forge a postnatal Fire Dao spirit body." Although the postnatal Fire Dao spirit body is not an extremely exceptional physique, it is enough to rank among the top geniuses when compared to those ancient families and sects. Nangong Mingyu's eyelids trembled slightly, and she nervously asked, "Then, how far am I from Zhongzhan?" Fairy Bright Moon saw through her thoughts and smiled, "There is still a long way to go before you can catch up to him. But rest assured, the cultivation technique I have given you contains supreme opportunities. If you can master it, you can forge a nirvana body, a physique that can rival an innate sacred body. At that time, you will not lose to the young lord of the Zhang family. Even, you can protect your fiancé and ensure his eternal life." Teased by Fairy Bright Moon, Nangong Mingyu's face blushed involuntarily. She subconsciously tightened the ring in her hand, then took out the fireweed of departed fire and focused on refining it. The fireweed of departed fire turned into pure Fire Dao spirit liquid, surging into Nangong Mingyu's body. Buzz. A fiery brilliance shone. The power of endless Fire Dao rules filled her body, reflecting a profound charm and faintly emitting ancient Dao sounds. However, the power of the Fire Dao rules was too strong, far beyond what Nangong Mingyu could bear at the moment. The power of the rules erupted, and the powerful energy raged like a storm, wantonly destroying Nangong Mingyu's fragile meridians. Fairy Bright Moon's expression remained unchanged. As a king medicine containing the power of rules, it is usually only attempted by cultivators at the profound earth realm. Nangong Mingyu had just recovered her meridians and dantian not long ago, and her cultivation level was almost non-existent, so she naturally couldn't refine it alone. According to the original cultivation plan she had set for Nangong Mingyu, this step would only be taken when she reached the Dao fusion realm. However, seeing Nangong Mingyu's eagerness to improve and being moved by her fiancé's heartfelt gesture, she offered to help her directly forge a postnatal Fire Dao spirit body. There is naturally a price to pay, but Fairy Bright Moon smiled faintly. They say the great Dao is heartless, but today, I am fortunate to see that there are still people in the cultivation world who value emotions. It is worth paying a little price. Immediately, Fairy Bright Moon activated her few remaining divine soul powers and poured them into Nangong Mingyu's body, soothing the restless power of the Fire Dao rules and guiding these rule energies to merge with Nangong Mingyu's physical body. After a moment, countless Fire Dao patterns surged around Nangong Mingyu, faintly shimmering with the brilliance of the Fire Dao. As if an innate fire spirit, possessing boundless fire power. The acquired Fire Dao spiritual body has been achieved. At this moment, Fairy Bright Moon's soul body, on the other hand, was unusually faint, appearing and disappearing as if it could dissipate at any moment. She was originally a wisp of residual soul, nurtured within Nangong Mingyu's body for a year, barely recovering a bit of vitality. She had accumulated some spiritual power, but now, in order to help Nangong Mingyu forge her physique, her spiritual power was almost depleted. She was very weak now and needed a period of sleep to recover. As she was about to fall asleep, Fairy Bright Moon looked at Nangong Mingyu, her eyes shimmering with a gentle light, and left a message: "The great Dao is heartless, and those who cultivate the Dao are even more heartless. The cultivation world is full of deceit and treachery, and those who truly treat you sincerely are very few. Someone like Zhang Zan, who values emotions so much, is extremely rare. This is your good fortune, you must cherish it." Then, she flew back into Nangong Mingyu's body and fell into a deep sleep. At this moment, Nangong Mingyu was digesting the insights gained from the acquired Fire Dao spiritual body and had entered a state of enlightenment. After several hours, flames blazed all over her body, countless Fire Dao patterns flew around, containing explosive power. The great Dao of fire manifested, condensing into a flame that seemed almost substantial within Nangong Mingyu's body. If Azure Sun Gate's main disciple, Qing, were here, he would surely exclaim in surprise. The meaning of the Fire Dao. The meaning of the Dao, the beginning of the great Dao, is a necessary element to break through the spirit transformation stage. In other words, only cultivators who comprehend the meaning of the Dao and reach the peak of the soul realm have the possibility of entering the spirit transformation stage. Nangong Mingyu's talent in the Fire Dao was already outstanding. She had already gained a preliminary understanding of the meaning of the Fire Tao a year ago, only one step away from complete comprehension. Now that she had forged the acquired Fire Tao spiritual body, it naturally came to her, and she comprehended the meaning of the Fire Tao. At the same time, Fire Tao patterns surrounded Nangong Mingyu, evolving into a vortex of flames, surging with an endless devouring power, crazily absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth within 100 jong radius poured in like a storm, flowing into Nangong Mingyu's body. Buzz. The brilliance of the flames burst forth, and a faint aura of power surged. Nangong Mingyu's cultivation soared rapidly. First level of body refining, second level, fifth level. In one go, she broke through 5 small realms. Nangong Mingyu slowly opened her eyes, a flash of fire in her gaze, sensing the abundant power within her body, revealing a smile. Although it was only the 5th level of body refining, she believed that with her current acquired Fire Tao spiritual body, it wouldn't take long for her to return to the soul realm. At this moment, Fairy Bright Moon's message entered her mind. Nangong Mingyu's expression slightly froze, her eyelids drooping slightly, subconsciously gripping the ring in her hand, her determination growing stronger. Work hard in cultivation. Reach Zhongzhan's height as soon as possible. Immediately, Nangong Mingyu walked out of the cultivation room and headed to Beiqing's residence. She was eager to improve her strength and didn't want to waste any time. At this moment, Elder Nangong and others were accompanying Beiqing at a banquet. When they saw Nangong Mingyu's arrival, they all looked at her, but when they sensed her cultivation level, they were all stunned. 5th level of body tempering. Nangong Mingyu, rebuilding her physique. Everyone's hearts were instantly filled with shock and astonishment. So fast. The young master of the Zhang family has already reached the level where he can remotely rebuild someone's physique. Beiqing's hand holding the wine cup trembled unconsciously, feeling extremely shocked. It must be known that rebuilding one's physique is an extraordinary feat. Even he wouldn't be able to do it without the help of the heaven-defying holy medicine. And the young master of the Zhang family can remotely rebuild Nangong Mingyu's physique. What kind of divine ability is this? It's too outrageous. But Beiqing suddenly thought of something and couldn't help but feel delighted. His precious disciple is the fiancé of that person with the astonishing divine ability. Why worry that she can't get close to the young master of the Zhang family? 3 days had passed in the blink of an eye, and it had been exactly 5 days since Zhongzhan entered seclusion. Because Zhongzhan refused to annul the marriage and rejected the alliance with the desolate heaven divine sect, the entire Zhang family was now in a state of uncertainty. Especially now that the news had reached the ears of the desolate heaven divine sect. The entire Zhang family was worried, fearing that if the desolate heaven divine sect became angry, it would endanger Zhongzhan's position as the future clan leader. After all, the desolate heaven divine sect was currently in a strong position, and even the Zhang family had to consider their anger. Meanwhile, the branch that had sided with Zhang Minghao and the other 3 young masters had been waiting and watching, wanting to see how Zhongzhan's branch would handle the aftermath. The anger of the desolate heaven divine sect was not so easily quelled. But as the person involved, Zhongzhan had no time to care about these trivial matters. He was currently comprehending the 7-star art. 2 days ago, his bloodline had reached 80, and he inherited the 7-star art from the star ancestor. This was a divine ability that manipulated the heavenly secrets. By relying on the power of the Big Dipper, one could glimpse the changes in the heavens, cultivate to the peak, and even deduce the future to seek good fortune and avoid calamity. At this moment, a surge of energy surged within Zhongzhan's body, and the viscous blood energy, like a gushing blood spring, dyed the entire cave mansion red. A brilliant divine radiance surged around him, with countless immortal auras and Tao rhymes following, as if a newly born god had appeared. Zhongzhan, who had just cultivated the 7-star art to a small achievement, slowly opened his eyes, a look of surprise flashing in his eyes. My bloodline has already reached 85 so quickly. A hint of distress appeared on his face. With the increase in bloodline, accompanied by a large amount of energy, if he wasn't careful, his cultivation would quickly break through, even reaching the nascent soul realm. But that was not what he wanted. Strength was not solely dependent on cultivation level, especially at the beginning of cultivation. The foundation was the most important. The more solid the Tao foundation, the stronger the combat power, and the smoother the future path would be. Even if he could break through to the nascent soul realm and forge an unparalleled Tao foundation, he would have absolute combat power against the nascent soul realm. What's more, forging an unparalleled Tao foundation would increase his potential, giving him an invincible posture. The chances of becoming a god in the future would also greatly increase. This was the realm he was currently pursuing. In fact, all the geniuses of the longevity families were the same. They wouldn't blindly pursue an increase in cultivation level, but instead focus on honing their foundation. However, the other three young masters of the Zhang family had long been unable to suppress their cultivation level and had already broken through to the nascent soul realm. However, Zhang Zan was able to suppress the other three Hualing realm disciples with his cultivation at the entranced realm, demonstrating the depth of his foundation. In order to forge an unparalleled foundation, for these 5 days, he has been focusing on suppressing energy and using it to temper his physical foundation, avoiding breakthroughs that are too fast and result in a weak foundation. But unexpectedly, just as he had digested the energy from the previous bloodline advancement, his bloodline had once again advanced. The surging blood and energy within his body caused Zhang Zan's physical body to expand slightly. With a flushed face, Zhang Zan gritted his teeth and persevered, desperately suppressing and guiding the energy to temper his physical foundation. However, the energy brought by the bloodline advancement to 85 was simply too much. His crystal-clear body cracked and healed time and time again, releasing countless faint golden auras, an indescribable power that seemed to solidify, shaking the void and creating ripples. After half an hour, Zhang Zan could only smile helplessly. His physical body had reached its limit. Continuing to temper it would only harm his foundation, with no benefits. He could only release his mind, guide the energy to break through and advance. Boom! A blazing divine radiance burst forth, and the viscous bloodline surged and roared like molten lava. In an instant, Zhang Zan stepped into the entranced realm perfection. The divine soul sitting in the center of his sea of consciousness gradually solidified, emitting an ancient aura, as if containing the profound truths of the great Tao. At this moment, with 85% of his bloodline completely released, it resonated with the rules of heaven and earth, activating the imprint left by the Zhang family's ancestor in this world. Buzz! The sky reversed, and the firmament split apart. In the depths of the profound void, a majestic divine shrine appeared, with endless divine radiance pouring down, solemn and dignified, as if it were the resting place of countless gods. The ancient and mysterious aura enveloped the Zhang family's 10,000 Zhang divine mountain. Everyone in the Zhang family, tens of thousands of clan members, trembled with their bloodline, immediately kneeling and paying their respects. Their eyes were filled with reverence and fervor as they gazed at the sky. This was the Zhang family's divine shrine, the imprint of the great Tao left by the Zhang family's ancestor in this world. If the bloodline concentration of a descendant of the Zhang family reached a certain level, it would activate the descent of the divine shrine, bestowing blessings upon this descendant and bringing down the inheritance of the Fang family's ancestors. This was a blessing that only the longevity aristocratic families could have. Because they were born with divine blood, this was the blessing of their ancestor. The bloodline was their talent, and those with a strong bloodline could even rival the innate sacred body. In the previous era, the Zhang family had descendants with monstrous bloodlines reaching 83, suppressing countless powerful physiques and dominating an era. Buzz! The Zhang family's ancestral land emitted several powerful and decaying auras. The old monsters who once dominated the profound heaven were awakened by the divine shrine's disturbance, opening their ancient divine eyes and gazing at the divine shrine with deep surprise in their murky eyes. The bloodline concentration had to reach at least 85% to qualify for activating the divine shrine. Among the younger generation, had there been a top-tier descendant with a bloodline regression? Was the Zhang family going to produce another invincible figure in this generation? Quickly investigate. Our Zhang family's monstrous talent must not be buried. Such a bloodline can become the young patriarch. The old monsters released their divine senses one after another, ordering the younger generation to quickly find out which talented individual in this generation had activated the divine shrine through bloodline regression. At this moment, the divine shrine trembled slightly, and an illusory divine figure walked out of the divine shrine. His gaze pierced through the void and landed on Zhang Zan, nodding in satisfaction, then sat high in the sky. With a wave of his hand, he activated countless rules, transforming into 3,000 sword auras that surrounded him. The sword auras flew, the void tore apart, and the endless sharpness caused the heavens and earth to tremble. This is Sword Ancestor Zhang Tai. 10,000 years ago, the sword ancestor who wielded a sword that could topple gods. The elders of the Zhang family were suddenly shocked and exclaimed in disbelief. Over 1,000 talented members of the Zhang family immediately became excited and envious, wondering who this ancestor with reawakened bloodline was. They had triggered the divine appearance of Zhang Tai, and he was now giving them a sermon. At this moment, Zhang Tai, the sword ancestor, spoke eloquently, his swordsmanship dominating the heavens. Countless sword chi scattered and the profound principles of the sword path poured into Zhang Zan's mind. Zhang Zan suddenly had a realization, and his eyes emitted a dazzling sword light. Sharp sword chi emanated from his body. His sharp sword intent was rapidly growing. He was already proficient in the way of the sword, and he was just one step away from comprehending the meaning of the sword. Now, with the guidance of his ancestors, condensing his sword intent was a matter of course. Thousands of talented members of the Zhang family stared eagerly at the divine appearance of Zhang Tai, knowing that he was giving a sermon. However, they couldn't hear anything, causing them to anxiously scratch their heads and beat their chests. Reawakening the bloodline, triggering the divine shrine, and receiving the ancestral inheritance was a blessing from the progenitor, but it was limited to only one person with the reawakened bloodline. They had no right or fortune to listen in, unless that person willingly allowed them, but that was obviously impossible. Half an hour later, Zhang Zan suddenly opened his divine eyes, using his finger as a sword, and thrust out a strike. Countless sword chi surged out, piercing through the void. The sharp momentum made people's hearts tremble. His sword intent had taken form. Zhang Tai, the sword ancestor, smiled appreciatively. There are successors in our Zhang family. Then, he stood up and returned to the divine shrine. The wind and clouds stirred again, the sky closed, and the magnificent divine shrine slowly dissipated. Zhang Minghao stood in front of the entrance to the cave mansion, gazing at the sky with an uncertain expression. This person with the reawakened bloodline had triggered the divine shrine and received the swordsmanship inheritance of Zhang Tai. Given time, it was feared that it would endanger his position as the young lord. Zhang Zan sensed the mysteries of sword intent and the improvement of his own strength, and he grinned. With a bloodline of 85, I triggered the divine shrine and received the swordsmanship inheritance of Zhang Tai. What if it reaches 90? At this moment, a prompt suddenly sounded in his mind. Nangong Mingyu has forged the innate fire spirit body. You have received corresponding feedback. Your luck is good, and you have received a critical hit. You have obtained the Fire Dao spirit body and the Fire Dao intent. Buzz. Zhang Zan's crystal-like body suddenly burst into blazing flames. Countless Fire Dao patterns surrounded him, resembling a divine being in control of fire. There was even a cluster of flame-like substance floating in his palm. The meaning of the Fire Dao. Zhang Zan blinked, his astonishment overflowing. To reach the pinnacle of the divine perception realm, one must comprehend the meaning of a great path in order to break through to the spiritualization realm. However, even the most monstrous geniuses could only comprehend one kind of great path when reaching the divine perception realm, far from being able to grasp two kinds of Dao intent. There were insurmountable shackles in this. Throughout history, countless unbelievably talented individuals who believed in their unparalleled talents had attempted this, but all ended in failure, wasting their own talents in vain. And today, he had only received feedback from Nangong Mingyu, and he effortlessly broke through the shackles, mastering two kinds of Dao intent. The protagonist of Destiny is truly different. It has only been a few days, and I have already forged the innate Fire Dao spirit body. But my Goldfinger is obviously stronger. Zhang Zan grinned. Keep it up, my fiancé. Then, he immersed himself in his mind, starting to digest the breakthrough and further refine his foundation at a deeper level. Just now, he reached the pinnacle of his physical body, and now he has comprehended sword intent and the meaning of the fire path. His understanding of the great Dao has also reached its peak, taking a big step towards the supreme Dao foundation. However, Zhang Zan has a faint feeling that merely reaching the pinnacle may not be enough to forge the supreme Dao foundation. Then, what if he breaks through the pinnacle? At this moment, in the Zhang family's divine mountain, the elders of each branch gathered together to discuss how to find the genius who can activate the ancestral shrine through bloodline reversion. Even the ancestors who were sleeping in the ancestral land were alarmed. They had to treat him cautiously and consider making him the young patriarch. After all, the 4 statues and their respective major branches have been fighting for the position of the Zhang family patriarch for more than 10 years, with no conclusion. Now that a genius has emerged, is he going to directly challenge the 4 statues? They couldn't easily accept that. After discussing for half a day, the elders of each branch finally came up with a final plan. They announced to the entire Zhang family that the ancestral trial would begin in 10 days. The winner would receive the bloodline baptism and be appointed as the young patriarch, respected by the entire Zhang family. For a while, the entire Zhang family was in an uproar. Is the position of the young patriarch, which has been debated for more than 10 years, finally going to be decided? The thousands of geniuses in the Zhang family were all eager to try their luck. The various branches also began to urgently summon the geniuses who were traveling outside. The once quiet Zhang family divine mountain gradually became lively. Powerful fluctuations of aura would occasionally burst out from the peaks of the immortal mountains. Many have already reached the nascent soul stage. The Zhang family was also speculating about who would become the young patriarch. Would it be one of the 4 statues? Or one of those geniuses who have already made a name for themselves in the Eastern Divine Continent? Or the person who triggered the bloodline reversion and activated the ancestral shrine? In the ancestral trial, everything is clear. In other words, it is a competition of bloodline concentration, cultivation level, and foundation of the Great Tao. Among the 3 factors, the bloodline concentration goes without saying. Naturally, the one with the strongest bloodline reversion is the most powerful. With a bloodline concentration of 85, he has far surpassed everyone else. In terms of cultivation level, the geniuses who have been traveling outside have an advantage. It is said that they have already reached the late nascent soul stage. As for the foundation of the Great Tao, the strongest is naturally the 4 statues, especially Zhongzhan, whose foundation is so solid that he can suppress the other 3 statues. Among the young generation of the Zhang family, no one can match him in terms of the foundation of the Great Tao. However, considering the 3 factors together, it is still uncertain who will win the position of the young patriarch. On this day, a majestic immortal ship broke through the clouds and sailed into the Zhang family divine mountain. From the ship, a young man dressed in a black robe and carrying a spiritual sword slowly walked out. A dense aura lingered around him, and there seemed to be faint roars of demons and monsters. The aura of the nascent soul stage surged like a tide, suppressing the heavens and the earth. It's Zhang Bei is back, someone in the Zhang family exclaimed. For a while, countless gazes from the major peaks of the Zhang family gathered on this young man in the black robe. Zhang Bei, the genius of the Zhang family second only to the 4 statues, has an astonishing bloodline concentration of 65. 5 years ago, after reaching the peak of the nascent soul stage, he went out to gain experience and seek a breakthrough in the nascent soul stage. In 5 years, he not only broke through to the nascent soul stage, but also traveled through most of the Eastern Divine Continent, killing nearly 100 demons and monsters of the same stage, and gained great fame. Some even called him the sword prodigy of the Zhang family. It is said that Zhang Bei had already reached the 7th stage of the nascent soul stage a year ago. With his cultivation level, he should be considered the number 1 among the young generation of the Zhang family, and a strong competitor for the position of the young patriarch in this ancestral trial. Zhang Bei looked around at the members of the Zhang family, his cold and sharp eyes flashing with a hint of mystery. He said calmly, "The position of the young patriarch belongs to me." In these years, he has honed his sword heart and has absolute confidence to rival the 4 statues, or even surpass them. The spiritual sword on his back suddenly burst out with a sharp sword light, cutting through the clouds. Then, step by step, he walked on air and returned to his own branch. The geniuses of the various branches of the Zhang family were all shocked. The 7th stage of the nascent soul stage was definitely not to be underestimated. Half an hour later, roar! The fierce roar of a dragon echoed through the Zhang family's divine mountain. 3 crimson blood dragons charged forward, carrying a magnificent golden palace, racing towards them. The bloodthirsty aura, like fresh blood, spread out in all directions, stirring up waves within 100 miles. The various factions of the Zhang family were alarmed, casting suspicious glances. The crimson blood dragons were ancient beasts with the bloodline of true dragons, fierce and unruly, only those with great power could control them. Who could it be this time? Who could actually control 3 crimson blood dragons? The crimson blood dragons circled above the Zhang family's divine mountain, and the palace opened. 2 servants, who looked like old men, walked out with their waists bent, naturally exuding the aura of the profound earth realm. Profound earth realm servants. Everyone was shocked. It must be known that in the outside world, the profound earth realm was a great power that could dominate a region. Even though the Zhang family was a prestigious immortal family, with countless profound earth realm experts, only the elders had the qualifications to make profound earth realm experts willingly bow down as servants. Who exactly was this returning Zhang family prodigy? How did he achieve this? At this moment, a handsome man dressed in a golden jade Taoist robe strolled out of the palace. He held a golden jade fan, surrounded by a divine charm, as if containing the principles of heaven and earth, extremely mysterious. Chenkin Young Venerable. Everyone in the Zhang family was astonished. Zhang Chenkin, one of the 4 venerables, had entered seclusion 3 years ago due to a bottleneck in his cultivation. There had been little news of him in the past 3 years, and if not for his nameplate in the longevity hall remaining intact, they would have suspected that Chenkin Young Venerable had encountered an accident. They didn't expect him to return today. And he seemed extraordinary and divine. Zhang Chenkin stood in the void, calmly glanced at the various prodigies of the Zhang family, and finally landed his gaze on the immortal peak where Zhang Zan's lineage was located. He smiled indifferently. I, Zhang Chenkin, have become the true successor of the Yin-Yang sacred land, and my cultivation has reached the pinnacle of the spiritual transformation realm. I have returned to the family today, not for anything else, but to aim for the position of the young patriarch. Even if Zhang Zan marries the desolate heaven divine sect, I will not back down. What is mine, is mine. No one can take it away. As soon as these words were spoken, a storm of shock and awe erupted. Chenkin Young Venerable had actually become the true successor of the Yin-Yang sacred land. The Yin-Yang sacred land was the oldest holy land in the Celestial Wonders realm, and there was no other like it. It was said that before the birth of the Longevity family, the Yin-Yang sacred land had already dominated the Celestial Wonders realm. At its peak, all sects submitted and all gods worshipped. All cultivators in the Celestial Wonders realm had to prostrate themselves before the Yin-Yang sacred land. There should be no suspense in the ancestral land trial this time. The hearts of the various prodigies were filled with despair. Chenkin Young Venerable had the support of the Yin-Yang sacred land, possessed terrifying cultivation at the pinnacle of the spiritual transformation realm, and his bloodline had reached a terrifying level of 72. His foundation in the Great Tao was also exceptional. Overall, the young generation of the Zhang family probably had no one who could compete with him. If Zhang Zan were to marry the desolate heaven divine sect, perhaps there would still be a chance to contend. After all, the significance represented by the Yin-Yang sacred land was too heavy. Zhang Minghao walked out of his cave mansion with his hands behind his back, exuding an ancient divine charm. His aura had become even more profound in the past few days. Obviously, his strength had made considerable progress recently. Zhang Minghao calmly looked at Zhang Chenkin from a distance, his expression calm and without any ripples. Beside him, the elders of his lineage, on the other hand, showed worried expressions. First, there was Zhang Zan, who caught the attention of the desolate heaven divine sect. Then, there was the return of Zhangbei, and now Zhang Chenkin, who has been missing for a long time, has become the true successor of the Yin-Yang sacred land and has reached the pinnacle of the spiritual transformation realm. Minghao, be careful during the ancestral land trial this time. If it becomes impossible, you can give up. Zhang Minghao shook his head and chuckled. The ancestral trial tests bloodline, cultivation, and Tao foundation. No matter how strong their background is, it's still useless. These 3 people are not worth worrying about. Especially Zhang Chenkin. I don't know what he has experienced in these 3 years. He has completely reversed priorities and forcefully pursued realms. Although he has reached the peak of the spirit transformation realm, it is obvious that his Tao foundation is empty and just a facade. There was a hint of disdain in his tone. But a divine aura surrounded Zhang Minghao, and he smiled confidently. I am not afraid either. Recently, he comprehended a legacy technique, which improved his bloodline by 2%, reaching 75%, equal to Zhongzhan. His cultivation also reached the 6th level of the spirit transformation realm. He had a great chance of becoming the young patriarch. The news of the ancestral trial naturally reached Zhongzhan's ears. The winner will become the young patriarch. Finally, there will be a result, Zhongzhan murmured. For more than 10 years, the 4 elders of the Zhong family had been fighting for the position of patriarch, but it had been a stalemate. Now, it was finally coming to an end. Young master, the desolate heaven goddess has sent a message. At this moment, someone walked in and presented a letter with both hands. Zhongzhan frowned slightly and opened the letter with some confusion. A vast divine radiance surged out, forming a message that entered Zhongzhan's mind. Within my desolate heaven divine sect, a fragment of a lost world has appeared. According to the detection of the Divine Lord, this is the relic of a true God. It may contain dangerous remnants, true God legacies, secrets of becoming a God, and even the Divine Lord sensed the presence of a trace of the world tree, perhaps even the seed of the world tree. At present, only a few immortal families and ancient sects know about this. There won't be too many geniuses participating. I dare to invite young Master Zhongzhan to come to my desolate heaven divine sect in half a month and enter together with me. You can take any benefits you obtain, and if you are fortunate enough to obtain the seed of the world tree, I am willing to give it to you. A world fragment, a relic of a true God. The seed of the world tree. Zhongzhan was slightly stunned. What was this desolate heaven goddess up to? He had already refused the marriage proposal, so why was she so enthusiastic? Extraordinary events often have ulterior motives. This desolate heaven goddess probably has ill intentions, Zhongzhan couldn't help but mutter. So many benefits, why would she give them away for free? Was she taking him for a fool? It seemed like she was treating him as a dog. Immediately, he replied with 2 words. Not going. You have broken a set rule by refusing the invitation of the desolate heaven goddess. You are rewarded with a breakthrough enlightenment. When you break through to the spirit transformation realm, you will have a sudden realization and greatly increase your strength. By refusing the desolate heaven goddess twice in a row, you are rewarded with a random draw. The prompt appeared before Zhongzhan's eyes, and he was momentarily stunned. Did this count as breaking a rule? And he even received a random draw. Leaving that aside, this desolate heaven goddess is definitely a lucky star. She's just showering me with rewards, one after another. Zhongzhan chuckled. Let's draw. Drawing in progress. Congratulations, you have drawn the key to the true God relic located in the Zhongguang world fragment. Attached is a message about the passage to the true God relic, which is located in the desolate heaven divine sect. A flash of white light, and a simple and ancient divine token appeared in Zhongzhan's hand, with a fierce dragon head engraved on it. Even with just a quick glance, an endless chill arose in his heart, as if he was staring directly at a terrifying evil spirit. ? Staring blankly at the divine token in his hand, Zhongzhan was filled with confusion. Chapter 11. I refused desolate heaven's invitation and won a lottery. Then you gave me a key to a real God relic. What are you playing at? I already sent the letter. Who is disgusted by it? Zhongzhan's mouth twitched, filled with complaints. I suspect Goldfinger is messing with me. But, this is a key to a real God relic. Zhongzhan couldn't find a reason to convince himself not to go for it at the moment. But he had already refused desolate heaven's invitation. Forget it, at most I'll just discuss desolate heaven a bit. I've already rejected the marriage proposal, so a little disgust won't hurt. Zhongzhan comforted himself. At that moment, the vast world suddenly twisted, endless rules manifested, auspicious clouds surged, and golden flowers fell, scattering on the Zhong family's divine mountain. From within the peak where Zhongzhan's lineage resided, a resounding cry suddenly rang out, like heavenly music, spreading far and wide. Within the sound, there was a profound divine meaning, as if a god was awakening. A vision of a god bone, as majestic as a divine mountain, appeared in the sky, shining brightly in all directions. The sacred vision alarmed the strong members of the Zhong family, and even the old monsters sleeping in their ancestral land opened their eyes, casting surprised gazes. God bone. Among the descendants of the Zhong family, a monstrous being with a natural god bone was born. A natural god bone, possessing the foundation to become a god, is naturally a supreme being. If nothing unexpected happens, they will surely be able to ascend to the position of a true god and overlook the profound heaven. First, there was the return of the monstrous bloodline and the activation of the divine shrine, and now there is the birth of a natural supreme with a god bone. This generation of the Zhang family is truly a great phenomenon. In the ancestral hall of Zhangzhan's lineage, the clan elders and the elders all had excited smiles on their faces. Great. First, we have Zhangzhan, the young lord, and now a natural supreme. Our lineage will surely rise and take control of the Zhang family. We will become the main lineage of the Zhang family. The clan elders waved their fists excitedly, their faces flushed, laughing excitedly. A member of your lineage with a natural god bone, known as a natural supreme. A prompt appeared before Zhangzhan's eyes, and his expression froze for a moment, feeling a bit confused. A natural supreme with a god bone. And they're from my lineage. Why does this script feel familiar? In the next moment, Zhangzhan's eyes suddenly widened, his pupils contracting violently. Bone snatching. He quickly shook his head, forcing himself to calm down. Zhangzhan's eyes flickered as he calmly pondered for a moment. Although the god bone is strong and has the title of a natural supreme, it is still far inferior to my Zhang family's immortal bloodline. My bloodline is about to reach 90, enough to rival the sacred body. There's no need for a god bone. The clan wouldn't be so foolish as to do something like this, right? Not dwelling on it any longer, Zhangzhan continued to focus, guiding the energy surging from the bloodline to temper his physical body and foundation. With the support of the fire intent and sword intent, his already extreme physical body and foundation loosened once again. This allowed Zhangzhan to see the possibility of breaking through the extreme and forging an unparalleled Dao foundation. The fire intent burned, and the sword intent swallowed. The immense energy permeated every muscle and meridian of his body, repeatedly tempering them. The Dao foundation suspended in his dantian, like a deep abyss, quietly absorbed the energy, solidifying at a deeper level. Like this, after half a day. Bloodline upgrade complete. Buzz. Thick blood chi surged like an ocean, surging and roiling. Brilliant divine radiance shone, endless rules poured out from the void, falling into Zhangzhan's body, helping him further temper his physical body and Dao foundation. Outside the cave mansion, on the Zhang family's divine mountain, the wind and clouds twisted, the sky split, divine radiance scattered, and the divine shrine reappeared. The clan elders from various lineages walked out one after another, all wearing complex and shocked expressions. Could it be that monstrous being has once again returned to their bloodline and activated the divine shrine? In just 5 days, the bloodline can return twice. What the hell kind of talent is this? Once again, the divine shrine is activated, and the bloodline concentration must be at least 90, right? Which lineage of monster is this? A bloodline concentration of 90. Throughout the million-year history of the Zhang family, there have been only a few monsters with a bloodline concentration of 90, all of whom have become invincible figures, pushing their own path to the heavens and making history. In the ancestral trial, with this person present, the chances of the 4 statues are probably slim. The elders of each lineage pondered, shaking their heads and sighing. If the 4 statues were to be defeated by this person, it would be acceptable. After all, no matter which era it is, a bloodline concentration of 90 is enough to become the young patriarch. In these past few days, the Zhang family's geniuses have all returned, numbering in the thousands. At this moment, they all walked out of their own cave mansions, gazing at the sky above the Zhang family's divine shrine, their eyes flickering with shock and inexplicable horror. What the hell? With such terrifying bloodline concentration, they can walk horizontally in the ancestral trial. What the hell can they use to compete? Zhangbei, carrying the spirit sword on his back, looked at the sky in silence. After a long time, a fierce aura rose from his body, and the spirit sword trembled violently, emitting a sharp edge. Even with a bloodline concentration of 90, your cultivation is inferior to mine, and you can only be defeated by my sword. Zhangbei's face twisted with a ferocious expression, appearing somewhat hysterical. Bloodline concentration. Zhang Chenkin sneered. Among the geniuses of past generations, a bloodline concentration of 90 can indeed directly become the young patriarch. But, unfortunately, you have encountered me. He became the true inheritor of the Yin-Yang sacred land, inheriting an ancient secret technique of the Yin-Yang sacred land, possessing the incredible power to seize yin and yang. If it really comes to a desperate situation, he can even use this technique to seize the opponent's bloodline and merge it into his own body. This is also the purpose of him disregarding the instability of his Tao foundation and forcibly pushing his cultivation to the peak of the spirit transformation stage. In case of emergency, with his cultivation, he can easily control everyone and then replace their bloodline. Zhang Minghao furrowed his brows as he looked at the divine shrine above the sky, feeling extremely difficult for a moment. Cultivation and Tao foundation, he has confidence in surpassing his peers. Even Zhang Chengqin and Zhang Zan are not worth his attention. But the bloodline, I hope this junior of the clan can behave. Zhang Minghao sighed softly, a cold killing intent flashing in his eyes. Talent does not represent everything. Without rising, there is a possibility of perishing. At this moment, the divine shrine trembled slightly, and an ancient divine figure walked out. The supreme aura was like thunder, raging through the heavens and earth, shattering the void. Indescribable dominance, challenging the heavens, like an emperor who commands the world. Even just standing there, it couldn't help but make people feel a sense of worship and admiration. This is the ancestor of thunder. The Zhang family trembled, and the elders of each lineage flew out one after another, quickly bowing in salute. The ancestor of thunder, the first ancestor of the Zhang family in ancient times. At that time, the Zhang family faced a great calamity, with powerful enemies surrounding them and their inheritance on the verge of destruction. It was the ancestor of thunder who single-handedly resisted countless enemies and protected the Zhang family. In other words, without the ancestor of thunder, there would be no Zhang family today. The ancestor of thunder glanced lightly at everyone, nodded indifferently, and then his figure slowly dissipated, appearing in Zhang Zan's cave mansion the next moment. His gaze, full of scrutiny, pressed down on Zhang Zan like a divine mountain. Zhang Zan's face changed slightly, unable to bear the heavy pressure. At this moment, the pressure instantly dissipated, and a satisfied look flashed in the deep gaze of the ancestor of thunder. But in this satisfaction, there was a hint of strangeness. Because the gaze of the ancestor of thunder didn't seem to be looking at a descendant of the bloodline, but rather, searching for a physical body. I have a self-created secret technique that can increase the purity of your bloodline to 93%, comparable to the third-generation ancestor. And I also have a heritage technique that can help you forge an indestructible thunder body. After reaching the great perfection, it can rival an innate sacred body. As long as you can grow up smoothly, becoming a god is only a matter of time. Zhang Zan was taken aback, so many benefits. When his bloodline reached 85, the sword ancestor appeared, but only to teach him, while at 90, he would directly receive the thunder ancestor's secret techniques and inheritance. Is there such a big difference of 5%? Wait a minute, if the benefits of just the bloodline are already so abundant, wouldn't the rewards be even greater if he directly rejected breaking the setting? Zhang Zan's heart suddenly became hot. The thunder ancestor stared straight at Zhang Zan, realizing that he had been overwhelmed by the promise of inheritance, and he coldly smiled. For 2 million years, he had been waiting patiently, finally waiting for a descendant of the Zhang family with a bloodline concentration of 90. He, the thunder ancestor, could finally be reborn. Back then, with his unparalleled Tao foundation, he forcefully reached the realm of true God, single-handedly withstanding countless powerful enemies, protecting the Zhang family through their tribulations. But, because of that battle, he injured his own Tao foundation and could no longer pursue a realm higher than true God. Until his lifespan was exhausted, he died with regret. At the moment of his death, unwilling in his heart, he sacrificed himself and used a secret technique to seal a strand of his remnant soul in the Zhang family shrine. When a descendant of the Zhang family with a bloodline concentration of 90 activated the shrine, he would be awakened. He could then possess that person. This was what the Zhang family owed him. At the cost of his own Tao path, he protected the Zhang family from destruction, and it was only right for the descendants of the bloodline to serve as his physical vessel and help him be reborn. In this life, I will definitely surpass the true God and step out of the celestial wonders realm. The thunder ancestor's heart went mad, laughing crazily inside. By possessing this person and combining it with his own past accumulation, he had full confidence in fulfilling his last wish from the previous life, breaking through the true God and stepping into a higher realm. The thunder ancestor's heart was insane, but on the surface, he remained domineering and majestic, looking directly at Zhang Zan and saying lightly, but I am currently just a mark, and the secret techniques and inheritance are all related to the great Tao. I need to delve into your sea of consciousness and face your divine soul in order to pass on the teachings. If you are willing, open up your sea of consciousness and allow me to enter. The secret techniques and inheritance he promised, he believed no one could refuse. Even Zhang Zan, at this moment, was tempted. These benefits, even a saint child would be envious. If he refused, could he still obtain so many rewards? After pondering for a moment, Zhang Zan scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. Thank you, Thunder Dao, for offering to pass on your teachings, but this junior's talent is still shallow, afraid that I won't be able to bear the Thunder Ancestors' inheritance. He decided to take a gamble. Refusing before had already brought him many benefits. Moreover, the temptation this time was even greater, surpassing even the marriage with the Divine Maiden, all easily obtainable. As soon as these words were spoken, Leiza's expression instantly froze. What did he hear? This kid refused him. Leiza's face immediately turned cold, and he said in a deep voice, "Do you know what you're saying? My secret techniques, my heritage, countless geniuses and monsters have begged for them, and you actually refuse. I'll give you 3 breaths to reconsider, I hope you cherish it." Zhang Zan was suddenly confused. Why did Lei Zhu have such a big reaction? Although he didn't understand, he still said firmly, "Thank you for your kindness, Lei Zhu. I hope you won't be angry. Congratulations on breaking a set rule and refusing the benefits that no one can refuse. Otherwise, you will be possessed by Lei Zhu and become the vessel for his rebirth." Bloodline purity increased to 93%. Obtained the complete form of the indestructible thunder body, which is half as strong as what Lei Zhu gave, and needs to be nurtured slowly with the help of Thunder Dao treasures. A prompt appeared before Zhang Zan's eyes, and his face suddenly changed. He was wondering why this old guy was so generous, with secret techniques and heritage, but it turned out that he was interested in his physical body. He wanted to tempt him with this, to make him let go of his mind and allow him to possess him. Zhang Zan repeatedly refused, and Lei Zhu was also annoyed. He was just a remnant soul, relying on the divine shrine to exist. He didn't have much power himself, nor could he stay in this world for too long. Among the descendants of the Zhang family, those with a bloodline concentration of 90 were already too few. He had waited for 2 million years to find someone like this. He couldn't miss this opportunity. Lei Zhu's face twisted, and he laughed coldly, "Stubborn fool, don't blame me." Boom! With the help of the divine shrine, Lei Zhu waved his hand and unleashed the power of the Thunder Dao, sealing off the entire cave mansion to prevent any aura from leaking out and being detected by the outside world. The remnant soul flew out of the divine shrine and turned into a bolt of lightning, breaking through the defense and entering Zhang Zan's sea of consciousness. With only a trace of remnant soul left, he didn't have the power of the divine shrine. His strength was almost non-existent, but he still had the power of the Thunder Dao and the power of the comparable Great Dao. But Zhang Zan was only in the nascent soul realm. He controlled the power of the Thunder Dao, which was enough to forcibly devour the opponent's divine soul and possess him. In Zhang Zan's sea of consciousness, Lei Zhu, covered in thunder, didn't waste any words. He directly used the power of the Thunder Dao to activate a powerful killing technique and attacked Zhang Zan's divine soul. 3,000 thunderbolts danced like silver snakes, turning into a thunder prison, suppressing Zhang Zan. Zhang Zan stared directly at the thunder prison that was pressing down on him, remaining calm and even a little disdainful. The power of the fire Dao surged from his left hand as he waved it, and a raging flame transformed into a sea of fire that instantly engulfed the thunder prison. The two forces entangled and consumed each other. The sword intent in his right hand soared, transforming into a green blade. Zhang Zan gripped the green blade and strode forward, slashing towards Lei Zhu. With a single sword strike, the sword chi extended for 3,000 zhang. Buzz! Lei Zhu's remnant soul instantly split into two. It's impossible, this can't be. Unable to accept his imminent demise, Lei Zhu's face twisted in a grimace as he howled in hysteria. You're still in the profound realm, how can you break free from the shackles of the great Dao and grasp two types of Dao intent? Zhang Zan coldly smiled, without any intention of explaining. His divine soul revolved, manifesting a profound vortex that devoured every fragment of the opponent's remnant soul. Although it was just a wisp of remnant soul, it was still the remnant soul of a true god. The quality of divine soul energy was extremely high, and even these fragments caused Zhongzhan's divine soul to instantly expand. Zhongzhan sat cross-legged, focusing his mind on refining the energy and tempering his own divine soul. Ancient divine radiance slowly surged and faintly flickered with thunderous light. At the same time, the bloodline within Zhongzhan's body roared and surged, rapidly increasing in power. Accompanying this was a vast amount of energy. His physical body and Tao foundation had already reached their limits. Until Zhongzhan found a way to break through these limits, he would be unable to continue advancing. However, he didn't want to rush into the spirit transformation stage so quickly. Helpless, he could only separate a strand of his consciousness to guide the energy, merging it into the trace of thunder Tao he comprehended from devouring Lei Zi's remnant soul. Thunder surged throughout his body as the immense energy quickly condensed into thunder patterns that flowed into his physical body. 5 days later, boom, like a great river, his blood qi surged endlessly, emitting a sacred and supreme aura as if it contained the hidden secrets of ancient and supreme Tao. There were also raging flames, 100 Zhong sword qi, and countless thunder patterns, guarding Zhongzhan from all sides like the three powers of heaven and earth. Within his translucent body, thunder flickered, exuding a destructive aura. The indestructible thunder body, comparable to the innate sacred body, had taken shape. At this moment, Zhongzhan slowly opened his divine eyes, a deep radiance flashing across them. It took me 5 days to refine just a fragment of a remnant soul. Zhongzhan's face revealed a hint of helplessness. Fortunately, the gains are not bad. First and foremost was his divine soul. By devouring a fragment of a true god's remnant soul, he directly broke through his limits. His current divine soul realm, although still in the profound realm, could now contend with the spirit transformation stage. Secondly, by comprehending the thunder Tao through Lei Zi's remnant soul fragment and using his own energy, he had made significant progress in the thunder Tao. He was not far from comprehending the thunder Tao intent. In other words, Zhongzhan, who was still in the profound realm, had already comprehended the three major Tao paths of sword, fire, and thunder. The shackles of the great Tao that had hindered countless geniuses and prodigies seemed non-existent to him. Furthermore, thanks to the reward from the Goldfinger, he had successfully forged the foundation of the indestructible thunder body, greatly enhancing his physical strength and breaking through his limits once again. Zhongzhan was confident that with his current physical strength, he could easily kill an early spirit transformation stage genius with a single punch. Once the indestructible thunder body reached completion, it would be comparable to the innate sacred body, showcasing its terrifying power. Of course, it was not easy for the indestructible thunder body to reach completion. It required a massive amount of thunder Tao treasures and divine artifacts. This matter would have to be taken slowly. Lastly, there was the improvement in bloodline purity. Originally, through the reward from the Goldfinger, his bloodline purity should have reached 93. However, after devouring Lei Zi's remnant soul fragment, his bloodline purity unexpectedly increased again, reaching a terrifying 95. It had reached the level of a second-generation ancestor. It had to be said that Lei Zi, this old fellow, might not do anything useful, but he did understand the concept of sacrificing oneself for others. With both my divine soul and physical body breaking through their limits, all that's left is my cultivation. Once I break through my cultivation limits, I will definitely be able to forge an unparalleled Tao foundation. Zhongzhan grinned. I hope the trial in the ancestral land will bring some surprises and allow me to smoothly break through my cultivation limits, forging an unparalleled Tao foundation. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. Buzz. Within Zhongzhan's body, the surging and roaring bloodline, like molten lava, suddenly gave birth to ancient and dark restrictions. They intertwined and formed a black totem, resembling a venomous poison that crawled out of his bones, sending chills down one's spine. The entire hall suddenly felt like an icy cave. A sense of coldness enveloped Zhongzhan, causing him to shiver uncontrollably. Just as Zhongzhan was filled with doubt, the totem suddenly flew up and branded itself on his forehead. A sinister and eerie laughter resounded in his mind. The 8 great royal clans. Accept the curse of this deity. Your descendants will forever live in fear. Until their extinction. Ha ha ha. Boom. Zhongzhan fainted. Dreaming back to ancient times. The human race waged war against countless races in the starry sky, while the 8 royal clans guarded the 9 heavens and 8 wastelands, slaying gods, killing immortals, exterminating demons, and beheading monsters. Expelling billions of races from the galaxy. The final battle in ancient times. Kill. The 8 royal clans, along with billions of human cultivators, went against the galaxy and attacked the ancestral land of the demon race. Divine light, Tao symbols, immortal patterns, and the boundless power of rules ravaged the starry sea, annihilating stars, causing the vast void to collapse, revealing a profound darkness. Bodies, severed limbs, and broken blades piled up like mountains. The strange blood of the demons flowed like a great river. The starry dome was bathed in blood, and the starry sky mourned. The demon race was nearly wiped out, and their ancestral land was overturned in just a matter of days. Above the starry sky, amidst the chaos, the 8 human kings used the ancient technique of the Great Blue Sky to jointly attack the demon emperor of the vast abyss, severing his vitality and extinguishing his reincarnation. The demon emperor of the vast abyss retreated in defeat, unable to turn the tide. In his anger, he chose to sacrifice his own imperial body and cast a devastating curse. Fire, pitch black flames, quietly ignited on the coiled imperial body of the demon emperor of the vast abyss. The body, larger than a star, turned into fuel for the rules, burning into strands of profound black lines, cold and eerie. The black lines entwined and weaved, forming a pitch-black totem. On it, the grim smile of the demon emperor of the vast abyss flickered, exuding a sinister and eerie aura, making people's hair stand on end. The imperial body turned to ashes, and the totem covered the chaotic void, enveloping the 8 human kings, transforming into prohibitions that surged into their bodies. 8 royal clans. Accept my curse. Your descendants will forever live in fear. Until extinction. Ha ha ha. Zhang Zan suddenly woke up, his eyes filled with astonishment and doubt. Subconsciously, he touched the pitch-black totem on his forehead, and related information flooded into his mind, causing his heart to tremble involuntarily. Zhang Zan revealed a bitter smile. The curse of the demon emperor of the vast abyss. Vaguely, the corners of Zhang Zan's temples, where his vigorous black hair should have been, seemed to have withered slightly. According to the feedback from his bloodline, in the final battle of ancient times, the demon emperor of the vast abyss used his own imperial body as a sacrifice to cast a devastating curse on the 8 royal clans. Those with royal bloodline would be affected by the curse, and their lifespan would be greatly reduced. The higher the concentration of bloodline, the more lifespan would be reduced. For those below 80, the reduction would generally be around 20%. For those above 85, the reduction would be 40%. For those with a concentration of 90, the reduction would be 60%. As for Zhang Zan, whose bloodline concentration had reached 95, his lifespan could only reach a maximum of 300 years. Unless he broke through to the true God realm during the remaining time, and barely resisted the power of the curse using the power of the rules that only true gods could control, he could increase his lifespan to 500 years. But none of this was recorded in the ancestral records. A bloodline concentration of 90, only a few of the ancient ancestors in the early stages could achieve that. In other words, besides the descendants of the progenitor, hardly anyone could reach a bloodline concentration of 95, no wonder no one knew about it later. Even if lifespan was reduced, people would only think it was due to other reasons, such as various hidden illnesses during growth. And for those above 90, there were only a few, so naturally, there was not much attention paid to it. Zhang Zan shook his head helplessly and couldn't help but curse inwardly, this is toxic. Even with my Goldfinger, I can still be so miserable. The true God realm. Zhang Zan exhaled a breath of turbid air, his eyes slightly lowered, showing a pensive look. He had Goldfinger by his side, and now he possessed various top-tier inheritances and divine abilities. He even comprehended 3 types of great Tao. His foundation was so profound that he was a unique existence in the entire Celestial Wonders realm. With his terrifying foundation, reaching the true God realm was only a matter of time. But the problem now was, what he lacked was time. 300 years. Zhang Zan shook his head, his tone slightly solemn as he muttered to himself. Even for top-tier geniuses, 300 years at most would only reach the heavenly yuan stage, right? I have to hurry and strive for as many cultivation resources as possible. Immediately, Zhang Zan stood up and left seclusion. His eyes lifted slightly, and his gaze gradually became profound. The position of the young clan leader must be obtained this time. Only then can I mobilize the resources of the entire Zhang family and quickly improve my cultivation. And the true God's remnant, if I can seize it, it will greatly increase my chances of breaking through to the true God in the future. Zhang Zan's brows furrowed slightly, and under the reflection of the totem on his forehead, a touch of ruthlessness was added. Immediately, Zhang Zan took a step into the air, soaring through the sky, transforming into a brilliant divine radiance, tearing through the clouds. After a moment, Zhang Zan arrived at the ancestral temple of their lineage. Hundreds of gazes gathered together. The clan elders, the numerous elders, and the hundreds of Zhang family geniuses participating in the ancestral trial had all been waiting for a long time. They were well aware that in the competition for the position of the young clan leader in this ancestral trial, only Zhang Zan had the qualifications to contend. The Supreme who was born a few days ago, with his talent, naturally had great hopes of growing up. Unfortunately, he was born too late and has not yet set foot on the path, so he can only miss out on this ancestral trial. The clan elders looked at Zhang Zan. Although Zhang Zan's aura had become much stronger, he was still in the immortal realm and had not yet stepped into the spirit transformation realm. Their hearts dimmed, and they consoled him, Shuaner, there may be changes in the competition for the young clan leader this time. If it is not possible, you can give up. The outstanding geniuses who had been traveling outside all returned. Many of them had already reached the spirit transformation realm, while Zhang Zan was still in the immortal realm, so he would inevitably be at a disadvantage. Moreover, there was also Zhang Chenkin, who had reached the peak of the spirit transformation realm, and the freak with a bloodline reversion concentration of 90. Although Zhang Zan's foundation was indeed strong, relying solely on his foundation might be difficult to surpass those few. The elders were also the same, advising one after another. Zhang Zan frowned slightly. Due to the sharp decrease in his lifespan, his mood was very bad now, even a bit gloomy and cold. His cold gaze swept over the elders, and Zhang Zan said indifferently, the position of the young clan leader must be mine. Immediately, he took big steps into the teleportation array and went to the ancestral land. Everyone was stunned, full of surprise and doubt. Where did Zhang Zan get his confidence from? The clan elders lowered their eyes slightly. They had watched Zhang Zan grow up and understood him the most. Today's Zhang Zan, something was off. Could it be that he had made a mistake in his cultivation and bred a heart demon? A trace of worry surged in the elders' hearts. Unable to figure it out, they could only put aside their doubts and turn their heads to look at the outstanding geniuses, instructing, remember, this is about the competition for the young clan leader. You must assist Zhang Zan and, if necessary, be willing to sacrifice your own lives. The outstanding geniuses' hearts trembled, and they quickly bowed respectfully, we will remember. The elders nodded slightly, waved their hands, and let the outstanding geniuses enter the ancestral land. The elders focused their attention on the teleportation array, their eyes filled with worry. They believed in Zhang Zan's talent and potential. In the future, he would surely shine brightly, sweeping through the younger generation and dominating the various major divine continents of profound heaven. However, now, only relying on his bloodline foundation to compete with the other three young lords, it would probably be quite difficult. The ancestral land was located in the Fang family divine mountain, but it was in another dimensional space. The second-generation ancestor once possessed great divine ability, integrating a fragment of the world into the Fang family's divine mountain. The small world carried by that fragment became the ancestral land of the Zhang family of Chengsheng River. Throughout the generations, the strongest members of the Zhang family who have roamed the profound heaven would enter the ancestral land and build their own divine tombs to sleep in when their time comes. Under the special rules of this ancestral land, the lifeblood tends to solidify, and the flow of time slows down significantly, naturally extending the limits of life and death. If the Zhang family encounters a great calamity, these old monsters will each come out and contribute their final strength to defend the Zhang family's name of longevity. Buzz. The desolate ancestral land is dim, as if it were a forgotten corner of the world. The great Tao, laws, rules, and order here have all become stagnant, and even time seems to have slowed down. Streams of divine radiance fall like shooting stars, landing on the vast and boundless river. As the divine radiance dissipates, Zhang Chenkin is the first to step out, his cultivation reaching the peak of transformation, surging like a raging tide, shaking the heavens and earth. The interweaving of yin and yang qi around his body resembles the taiji, encompassing all things in the great Tao. With the mountain and river fan in his hand, he manifests vast mountains and rivers. With his hands behind his back, he stands on the mountains and rivers, overlooking the surrounding geniuses, his eyes slightly lowered, revealing a hint of disdain. Today, the position of young clan leader belongs to no one but him. Zhang Bei carries the spirit sword on his back, and 3,000 sword chi cuts through the void. Calmly stepping on the spirit sword, his cold gaze sweeps over the four figures, a murderous intent brewing in his eyes. In his eyes, most of the four figures are just empty names, unable to withstand a single sword from him. Zhang Minghao, dressed in white robes, smiles with his hands behind his back, ignoring the cold gazes of Zhang Chenkin, Zhang Feng, and others, calmly descending from the sky. A mysterious aura surrounds his body, resembling the appearance of a Taoist immortal. He casually glances at the geniuses, secretly pondering, who is that monstrous figure with a bloodline of 90? That person is his biggest threat today. There is also Zhang Feng, one of the four figures, and other renowned geniuses, each exuding a brilliant divine radiance, with the great Tao lingering around them, transcending the ordinary. With cold and sharp gazes, they all have the desire to compete for the position of young clan leader. Zhang Zan's expression is indifferent, ignoring the hidden gazes of the various geniuses. His physical body is like breathing, undulating, and his Tao foundation inside his body is shimmering with ancient divine radiance, with a long-lasting aura. His physical body and divine soul have already reached the pinnacle, and now his cultivation foundation also yearns to break through the limits, thereby forging an unparalleled Tao foundation. At this moment, the great river surges, with rolling waves that cover the sky and earth, as if the Milky Way has been inverted, encompassing a chaotic world. Roar, roar, roar. In the vast and majestic river, an endless wasteland is revealed. Within the wasteland, countless exotic and ferocious beasts roar fiercely, filling the air with a murderous aura. Buzz. A silver-white brilliance split through the darkness of the ancestral land, illuminating the surging river. In the vast starry sky, a floating ancient tomb bound by the chains of the great Tao drifted slowly. Although its speed was extremely slow, like a feather drifting with the wind, in the blink of an eye, the majestic tomb had already landed on the river. Ancient aura surged out, suppressing the turbulent river and countless roaring beasts. Boom! The entire ancestral land once again returned to its profound tranquility. An indescribable shock swept over the hearts and minds of the talented individuals. The tomb trembled slightly, emanating an ancient and decaying supreme aura. Profound and mysterious rules of the great Tao dispersed like ethereal mist, accompanied by obscure divine radiance, flickering and gradually evolving into a hazy figure. Wearing a pure white Tao robe, with a blurred face. Naturally exuding a vast aura, the surrounding void twisted and overlapped, giving people the illusion of the vastness of the universe, as if standing there was not a person, but a mountain and sea that suppressed the galaxy. The talented individuals immediately revealed expressions of fanaticism and reverence. Shan Zhu, the first person of the Zhang family after the ancient era, unparalleled in luck. When he was young, he accidentally received guidance from an unparalleled expert who transcended time and space, comprehending the secrets of the mountain and sea technique. He created a mountain and sea outside of the heavens, achieved the Tao, and became the ruler of the profound heaven era. Shan Zhu's hazy eyes lifted slightly, his vast gaze sweeping over the talented individuals, and he said lightly, "The river before your eyes was opened by my second-generation ancestor of the Zhang family. It contains 30,000 rare treasures and exotic beasts, forming a unique secret land of 10,000 beasts for the trials of the Zhang family's descendants. When you enter the secret land of 10,000 beasts, you must strive to slaughter the beasts. For each drop of blood from a divine realm exotic beast, you will earn 1 point. For each drop of blood from a spirit transformation realm beast, you will earn 10 points. For each drop of blood from a profound earth realm beast, you will earn 100 points." Shan Zhu waved his sleeve, and a light curtain fell in front of the tomb, listing the names of the talented individuals. Within 10 days, the first place in points will be rewarded with a Tao medicine. The top 10 in points will have the qualification to enter the tomb and receive our inheritance. The hearts of the talented individuals immediately burned with excitement, and even their breathing became rapid. A Tao medicine was even more precious than a king's medicine, without a doubt. Even a venerable might not be able to possess one. If they could obtain a Tao medicine, their foundation would undoubtedly reach a higher level, invincible among the same realm. As for the inheritance of the ancestors in the tomb, it was an unimaginable opportunity. If they could gain the favor of the ancestors and receive their inheritance, they would definitely have a chance to surpass the 4 young venerables. Or even, replace them. After all, this was a points challenge. As long as they killed enough exotic beasts, they had a chance to enter the top 10. For a moment, the talented individuals were filled with fighting spirit, and without hesitation, they stepped into the river and entered the secret land of 10,000 beasts. Zhang Bei slowly drew the spiritual sword on his back, slashing the river with one sword. The sharp sword chi directly split the surging river into 2, forming an almost vacuum zone. 4 young venerables, it's time for you to move. Zhang Bei provocatively glanced at Zhang Zan and the other 3, sneered, and turned into a sword light, piercing into the river, landing on the barren soil. 3,000 sword chi flew up around him, instantly killing several spirit transformation realm exotic beasts, obtaining 3 drops of their blood. With a total of 30 points, he leapt to first place. Zhang Zan and the other 3 furrowed their brows, their eyes flashing with cold light. In this ancestral land trial, they were competing for the position of the young clan leader. In other words, it was a competition among the 4 of them. What is Zhang Bei? Who does he think he is? Daring to provoke them. Everyone, if we let Zhang Bei steal the limelight, our faces as the 4 young venerables will truly be lost. Zhang Minghao chuckled, then strolled into the river. Layers of vast Tao laws surged around him, naturally forming a series of spells, casually harvesting the lives of one exotic beast after another. Points, accumulating rapidly at a visible speed. Zhang Feng snorted coldly and followed suit, entering the river. His muscles bulged, resembling a coiled dragon, exuding a fierce aura. Like a humanoid beast, he angrily killed the strange beasts with his fists and palms. The ferocity was astonishing. Meanwhile, Zhang Zan looked at the surging river without any action, but instead, a faint smile appeared on his face. He had just read the information about the ancient beast's secret grounds from Leizo's memories and learned an interesting secret. The 2nd-generation ancestor opened the ancient beast's secret grounds, ostensibly to train the Zhang family disciples, but in reality, it was to cultivate the true dragon egg that was suppressed at the center of the secret grounds. Using strange beasts as nourishment, the Zhang family luck subtly transforms and refines. Zhang Zan raised an eyebrow and murmured in surprise, 2nd-generation ancestor, such audacity, such grandeur, actually wanting to hatch a true dragon that belongs exclusively to the Zhang family. It is said that in the ancient era before the primordial times, the dragon race was the absolute ruler above all heavens. As the absolute emperor of the dragon race, the power of a true dragon was so great that even the ancient gods and demons had to retreat. However, at the end of the ancient era, calamity struck, heavens fell silent, all realms withered, and all races suffered heavy blows, almost facing extinction. Even the mighty dragon race had to flee as a whole. Since then, the dragon race has disappeared from the heavens. But unexpectedly, the 2nd-generation ancestor obtained a true dragon egg and had the audacity to transform and refine it, taming it into the Zhang family's guardian beast. First on the points leaderboard. Zhang Zan's eyes lit up as he looked at the leaderboard, and a slight smile appeared on his lips. It seems like there's an opportunity to exploit. Immediately, Zhang Zan turned into a divine light and entered the river. After entering the desolate land, he paid no attention to the strange beasts around him and shot straight towards the center of the desolate land. With the true dragon egg in hand, what need was there to worry about the blood of strange beasts? Zhang Chenkin, who had been motionless all this time, saw Zhang Zan enter and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. He emitted the aura of yin and yang and tapped on the mountain and river fan, sending out a secret order. As the secret order spread, 3 outstanding individuals scattered throughout the desolate land flickered their gazes and stealthily concealed their figures. Instead of hunting down strange beasts, they swiftly headed towards Zhang Zan's direction. Their aura had unexpectedly reached the mid-stage of the spiritual transformation realm. Zhang Chenkin's gaze deepened, and a disdainful smile appeared on his lips. If it weren't for the Holy Lord's repeated instructions, Zhang Zan's possible alliance with the desolate heaven divine sect, which posed a great threat to his position as the next clan leader. He would have to eliminate Zhang Zan first to eliminate any future troubles. With Zhang Zan's mere spiritual transformation realm cultivation, how could he be qualified in his eyes? Why would he need to divert his attention and dispatch the outstanding individuals he secretly subdued to assassinate him? 3 mid-stage spiritual transformation realm individuals ambushing you together, with such a grand lineup, Zhang Zan, your death will be considered glorious. Zhang Chenkin smiled faintly. This time, he came with the heavy trust of the Holy Lord, aiming to seize the position of the next clan leader. If he could successfully seize the position of the Zhang family's next clan leader, his identity as the inheritor of the Yin-Yang sacred land might rise, and he might become a saint child who stands above all others. Immediately, the aura of Yin and Yang revolved around Zhang Chenkin's body, like a pair of large hands, pushing aside the surging river, calmly stepping into the desolate land. In this ancestral trial, there were a total of 350 outstanding individuals, and he had the highest cultivation level and ranked first on the points leaderboard. Naturally, the Tao medicine, ancestral inheritance, and the position of the next clan leader were all his. They could only be his. Barren land in the southeast direction. After Zhang Zan descended from the 3,000 mountain range, he didn't pause for a moment and directly rushed towards the central area where the true dragon egg was located. Divine light swept across the sky, dividing the vast firmament. Along the way, he alarmed many geniuses, who cast doubtful glances at him. Why didn't Zhang Zan hunt down the exotic beasts? Could it be that he knew his cultivation was insufficient and gave up directly? But then, more than 10 geniuses in the nascent soul realm appeared, swiftly chasing after Zhang Zan. This scene left everyone even more bewildered. Zhang Zan was still in the nascent soul realm, and his speed in hunting down exotic beasts was slow, so it was understandable that he gave up. But what about these nascent soul geniuses? Could it be that there's a precious treasure appearing? The hearts of the geniuses stirred, and they couldn't help but speculate. Some more astute individuals followed Zhang Zan's direction, wanting to find out the truth. After a moment, 3 geniuses caught up to Zhang Zan and decisively unleashed their killing divine abilities. Boom! Silver serpents danced wildly, and a river of blood surged. The chilling killing intent shook the void. A mountain range collapsed, rocks flying, as if it were a natural disaster. The indestructible thunder body protected its master. Ancient thunder patterns danced in the air, completely blocking the divine abilities. Zhang Zan's figure paused. He looked back at the 3 people, his eyebrows slightly furrowed, and a hint of hostility appeared in his eyes. Which sect are you from? Attacking me without reason, are you tired of living? The 3 geniuses glanced at each other, their eyes filled with a hint of laughter and mockery. In the nascent soul realm, you can actually withstand our divine abilities. You do have some skill. Zhang Shang, the leader, dressed in a black robe, looked at Zhang Zan with a condescending gaze. But how do you, a nascent soul cultivator, have the face to occupy the position of the young lord and enjoy a large amount of cultivation resources within the clan? Zhang Zan's eyes turned cold as he stared directly at Zhang Shang. Do you have a problem with that? That's right. Zhang Shang snorted coldly. Letting you sit in the position of the young lord only brings shame to my Zhang family. His strength, his talent, were clearly far superior to Zhang Zan's, but his resources were not even 1/10 of Zhang Zan's. He was unwilling, resentful, and extremely jealous. He. Zhang Zan couldn't deny it and smiled faintly. The smile was light and cold, and the hostility between his brows became even stronger. Due to the curse on him, Zhang Zan's mood was not good. He had been suppressing a surge of anger and hostility. Until now, he wanted to kill someone. Upon hearing Zhang Zhang's words, the other 2 geniuses couldn't help but furrow their brows. They urged in a low voice, Zhang Zan is only in the nascent soul realm. Let's attack together and crush him, then report back. Don't delay the young lord's plan. It won't take long. Zhang Zan is just one person. I can kill him with one strike. Zhang Shang sneered, and a fierce blood aura surged around him. A ferocious broadsword gradually appeared in his hands. The young lord had saved his life, and he followed him faithfully. Today, he was following the orders of the young lord to kill Zhang Zan. However, the young lord was too cautious, sending 3 mid-nascent soul cultivators to deal with a mere nascent soul cultivator like Zhang Zan. He didn't know if the young lord didn't trust their strength or if he overestimated Zhang Zan. But regardless, the result would be the same. Today, he would personally chop off Zhang Zan's head with the broadsword in his hand. Who does he think he is, to be the young lord of my Zhang family? Zhang Shang tightly gripped the broadsword, and viscous blood aura gushed out. Boom! Zhang Shang transformed into a blood ray, shooting towards Zhang Zan. In the blink of an eye, he leapt 100 feet and arrived in front of Zhang Zan. Behead! Zhang Shang shouted angrily, and the broadsword forcefully cleaved down. A majestic spiritual power burst forth, enveloping the blood aura, forming a 100-foot-long blade chi. As the blade chi passed, the void violently trembled, and cracks appeared as if the rules themselves were collapsing. This is the Blood Gang Blade technique. Zhang Shang. He is Zhang Shang. Among the following group of talented individuals, someone recognized Zhang Zhang's identity and immediately widened their eyes, exclaiming in surprise. What? Everyone's hearts trembled, showing an expression of disbelief. Is he the one who awakened the blade body, reached the foundation building stage in 3 years, the nascent soul stage in 5 years, and the core formation stage in 10 years? I heard that 3 years ago, he began his cultivation in the mortal world and, with the cultivation level of the mid-core formation stage, defeated a late core formation stage disciple of the heavenly demon sect, which led to him being pursued by the sect. For 3 whole years, there was no news about him, and everyone thought he had been killed. As a result, the elders of his clan personally took action and slaughtered 3,000 disciples of the heavenly demon sect to vent their anger. I didn't expect that he's actually still alive. A talented individual recalled Zhang Zhang's glorious deeds and murmured in disbelief. Not only is he alive, but it seems that his strength has also improved a lot. The Blood Gang Blade technique is one of the top 3 blade cultivation inheritances of my Zhang family. It is said that when cultivated to perfection, it can rival quasi-saint arts. Zhang Shang has obviously comprehended the Blood Gang Blade technique. His combat power is probably approaching the peak of the core formation stage. Watching Zhang Shang attack Zhang Zan, someone exclaimed in astonishment, Zhang Shang is really bold. He actually dares to make a move against Zhang Zan, the young venerable, during the trial. If the elders investigate, he will probably face severe punishment. It's obvious that he covets Zhang Zan's position as the young venerable and wants to replace him. Zhang Zan has only reached the nascent soul stage, but he has always held the position of young venerable and enjoyed a large amount of cultivation resources within the clan. Many people are already dissatisfied. It's not surprising that Zhang Shang is making a move now, and he definitely won't be the last. Zhang Zan is still in the nascent soul stage. It seems that he will have to taste defeat under Zhang Zhang's blade today. A talented individual estimated. Isn't it good if Zhang Zan dies? If one young venerable is absent, we will have the opportunity to advance further. The talented individual in the green robe responded with a cold smile. Upon hearing this, everyone was stunned. After careful consideration, their eyes gradually lit up with anticipation. Facing the blade chi coming from Zhang Shang, Zhang Zan's eyes slightly darkened as he coldly uttered a sentence. Seeking death. A cold and ruthless aura surged out. His right hand stretched out, and ancient lightning patterns intertwined on his sturdy arm. The path of lightning resembled thick chains, entwining and evolving into 300 thunderbolts, raging madly. With an invincible physical body and the enhancement of the indestructible thunder body, even a young ancient god would not easily back down. No one knew what kind of world-shaking power was accumulating within Zhang Zan's seemingly fragile body. Perhaps, from the distorted state of the void caused by the pure power collapsing around him, one could catch a glimpse. Facing the blade chi, Zhang Zan threw a punch. Boom! Accompanied by the crisp sound of ka ka ka, the bloodthirsty blade aura, which was hundreds of feet in size, shattered and dissipated in an instant, just like a chicken and dog being crushed. Impossible! Zhang Shang let out an incredulous growl. 3 years ago, his sword could easily kill the heavenly demon sect's demon child in the later stage of the spiritual transformation realm. Today, his strength has increased several times compared to 3 years ago, while Zhang Zan has only just entered the divine realm. How could he possibly defeat him with a single strike? But Zhang Zan had already approached. Under the cover of thunder, Zhang Zan was like a fierce thunderous beast, domineering and ferocious, making people tremble in fear. One punch, and then another. Using the simplest and most direct method to give Zhongshang the most effective counterattack. Zhongshang desperately defended, but it was already too late. An indescribable tremendous force came crashing like a raging wave, completely shattering his defense. In Zhang Zan's perception, it was as if he was a primordial behemoth carrying the power of the divine mountains, crushing him with terrifying force, while he was like a weak and powerless ant, only able to stare blankly, waiting for his demise. Powerless, helpless, and filled with despair. Bang! Blood splattered from Zhang Zhang's deformed head, scattering in the vast mountains, adding a touch of eerie blood color. Accompanied by Zhang Zhang's miserable screams, Zhang Zan presented a vivid display of violent aesthetics to everyone. So vivid that countless geniuses were shocked and horrified. With Zhang Zhang's talent and strength, he could easily rank in the top 10 among the younger generation of the Zhang family. But in front of Zhang Zan, he didn't even have the qualification to fight back. He was trampled upon like an ant. Gulu. The young man in the green robe swallowed hard, forcibly controlling his trembling legs, quietly moving his body, trying to distance himself from the ferocious Zhang Zan. Originally, he also coveted Zhang Zan's position as the young lord. Until now, he realized how naive his thoughts were. Among the 4 young lords of the Zhang family, only Zhang Zan had reached the divine realm. This in itself explained a lot. Crack! Zhang Zan casually crushed Zhang Zhang's neck, shook off the blood on his hand, and raised his eyes to look at the 2 geniuses who had come with Zhongshang. In a calm tone, he asked, "Tell me, who ordered you to come?" The 2 geniuses' eyelids twitched, their hearts already consumed by fear. They were well aware of Zhang Zan's strength. Although they were both at the mid-stage of the spirit transformation realm, they could barely suppress Zhang Zan when they joined forces. In other words, even someone as strong as Zhang Zan had no power to fight back against Zhang Zan and was mercilessly crushed. The result would be the same for the 2 of them. In fact, they might even die faster. They glanced at each other and the 2 geniuses struggled to speak, their trembling bodies making it difficult. We only hope that Senior Zhang can spare our lives. You are not worthy to negotiate with me. A cold voice sounded, and Zhang Zan had already turned into a divine light, flashing in front of the 2 of them. With one hand each, he grabbed their necks. Crack! With the crisp sound of bones breaking, the vitality of the 2 geniuses rapidly faded away in Zhang Zan's hands. The profound and mysterious Tao circulated in his palm, forcefully invading their sea of consciousness, tearing apart their souls, and reading their memories. Soul searching. After a moment, a deep and profound cold light flashed in Zhang Zan's eyes. Zhang Chenkin. He raised his eyes slightly and looked towards the sky, where the projection of the light curtain recorded the points of all the geniuses. In just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Zhang Chenkin had already obtained 62 points, temporarily ranking first. Zhang Haoming with 56 points, Zhang Feng with 53 points, and Zhang Bei with 49 points followed closely behind. Zhang Zan's eyes deepened, and a cold smile appeared on his lips. Then he turned around and flew towards the central area at high speed. Half an hour later, Zhang Zan's figure appeared above the 10,000-foot gorge in the center of the wasteland. Clusters of eerie black mist floated like flowing water, enveloping the gorge, making it impossible for anyone to see the scenery inside the gorge. Even divine consciousness couldn't penetrate the black mist. An indescribable aura invaded their minds, heavy and oppressive, as if there was a terrifying horror that couldn't be directly faced inside. Zhang Zan frowned, feeling a sense of unease, as if he was being suppressed from a level of life. Thinking of the records of the true dragon egg, Zhang Zan couldn't help but speculate, the true dragon egg is probably about to hatch. Zhang Zan's heart suddenly burned with excitement. Without hesitation, he directly crossed the black mist and entered the gorge, falling rapidly towards the bottom of the gorge. Outside the great river, standing on the god's tomb, the mountain ancestor noticed this scene and couldn't help but reveal a surprised smile. This kid is interesting. Buzz. The god's tomb trembled slightly, and a heavy aura surged out, gradually transforming into a burly figure. Ancient ancestor. The first body refining expert of the Zhang family since ancient times. It is said that the ancient ancestor's physical body has already reached the realm of a divine being, tearing apart true gods and easily traversing the galaxy. Is this kid lucky, or did he already obtain the secret of the true dragon egg in advance? The ancient ancestor's tone carried a hint of surprise and doubt. The mountain ancestor chuckled. After this kid entered the wasteland, he didn't even kill a single exotic beast. He went straight for the true dragon egg. Obviously, he knew in advance. But, being able to obtain the secret of the true dragon egg is also his luck. This is his opportunity. The ancient ancestor raised an eyebrow, pondering, could it be, he is the disciple who achieved a bloodline reversion to 95? If that's the case, then we can continue to sleep peacefully and wait for the arrival of the Great Era. Since ancient times, the strongest experts of the Zhang family would bury themselves in the god's tomb at the end of the era, like prisoners, only to contribute their last bit of strength when the Zhang family faced a disaster. He was like this, and so was the mountain ancestor. Now, they are still in deep sleep, only revealing a trace of their soul consciousness, witnessing the genius of the Zhang family in this generation. After all, the great era that will sweep through profound heaven and even the entire heavens is about to come, and the catastrophe that will engulf the myriad realms will inevitably return. It's unlikely. The ancestral mountain gently shook his head and said, Zhangzhan's bloodline concentration is only 75, so he obtained the position of a junior lord. If he had the chance to revert his bloodline concentration to 95, he would have done so long ago, and it's unlikely to wait until now. The ancient ancestor's brows slightly furrowed as he looked at the other geniuses who were hunting down the exotic beasts. One by one, he observed their talents and combat power. A hint of disappointment quietly passed through, and he felt worried about the future of the Zhang family. He sighed lightly and said, after all, the celestial wonders realm has been silent for so long, it should also revive. The succession of the great Tao, the cycle of reincarnation, in this era, is destined to open a new era that will overturn opening heaven and change the world. These disciples may seem like once-in-a-millennium geniuses, but they are ultimately the inevitable products under the influence of the general trend. We have them in the Zhang family, and other forces will naturally have them, even more. Relying solely on these disciples, the future of the Zhang family is worrying. The ancestral mountain nodded in agreement. If our Zhang family wants to remain unshakable in the turbulent times, relying solely on these geniuses is definitely not enough. If we want to maintain our position as a long-standing family in profound heaven for another million years, we must produce a monstrous talent. If we want to go further, we must create an unparalleled talent, invincible in this era. The ancient ancestor's brows furrowed tightly. After pondering for a moment, he slowly spoke with a hint of uncertainty in his tone. I heard that the four lords of our Zhang family in this generation all have the potential to achieve enlightenment. If they obtain our inheritance, they will definitely be able to go further. Isn't that enough to be called monstrous talents? The ancestral mountain shook his head and smiled. In the past, it would have been enough. But in this era, it's too forced. What about the kid who entered the gorge? Since he is one of the four lords, if he can subdue a true dragon, he will surely rise above the rest and be known as a monstrous talent. The ancient ancestor's tone grew slightly heavy. The ancestral mountain nodded slightly. If he successfully subdues a true dragon, then naturally. But, a true dragon is ultimately just an external object. Aside from Zhangzhan's bloodline concentration of 75, his physique, talent, and comprehension are not outstanding. Even with the assistance of a true dragon, he is likely to be inferior to those monstrous talents cultivated by the ancient divine sects. The ancient ancestor's face showed a worried expression that couldn't be dispelled. According to what you're saying, is it inevitable for our Zhang family in this era to face a great calamity? The ancestral mountain looked down at the great river, observing the geniuses hunting down the exotic beasts. His profound eyes were as deep as an abyss, and he chuckled, it's not that hopeless. That disciple who has returned to the bloodline up to the age of 95, and that recently born divine bone, both of them possess extraordinary talent. With full cultivation, they have the opportunity to become unparalleled geniuses and dominate the younger generation of profound heaven. As long as those two grow up successfully, our Zhang family will have a bright future in this generation. The ancient ancestor's expression became serious as he nodded solemnly. The mountain ancestor also nodded, then withdrew his gaze and continued to observe the various young talents in the wasteland, hoping to find the prodigy with the bloodline returning to its roots. Perhaps the other party is intentionally hiding, to the point that even though he has reached the supreme realm, he still cannot see any clues and cannot lock onto him. Does this disciple with the bloodline returning to its roots have some concerns in his heart? Why does he have to hide himself? Otherwise, we wouldn't have to search so desperately. There was a deep sense of helplessness in his tone. He didn't hesitate to expend a small amount of his remaining lifeblood to allocate a strand of divine consciousness to oversee this ancestral trial, all for the purpose of finding that disciple with the bloodline returning to its roots, and passing on his inheritance to him, helping him advance further. Never did he expect that the other party would be so cautious, clearly being in the Zhang family's ancestral land, yet still hiding and concealing himself. The ancient ancestor couldn't figure out the reason, and after spending a long time searching, he still gained nothing, so he could only temporarily give up. His gaze once again fell on Zhangzan in the gorge, and he jokingly said to the mountain ancestor, if Zhangzan is the one with the bloodline returning to its roots, and he manages to subdue a true dragon, he will definitely be hailed as an unparalleled genius and dominate an era. Even if the Golden Age arrives, he can easily reign supreme. The mountain ancestor knew that the ancient ancestor was joking, so he scolded him with a bad temper, if he really is, I'll crawl out of the divine tomb right now and serve as his bodyguard. The ancient ancestor also laughed. They were buried in the divine tomb to avoid the erosion of time, allowing them to survive until now. Once they crawl out, the rules of time will take effect, and their lifeblood will quickly diminish. Even if they seal themselves and do nothing, they can only live for a maximum of 3 months. They slept in the divine tomb like prisoners, all for the sake of protecting the Zhang family. It's not for the sake of serving as a bodyguard for a junior. After all, in every era, the Zhang family will select 4 young lords. Having lived for so long, they have seen countless young lords. Among these many young lords, Zhangzan is not the most outstanding one. Even if he has the possibility of subduing a newly hatched true dragon. After breaking through layers of black mist and falling for the time it takes to burn an incense stick, Zhangzan finally arrived at the bottom of the canyon. In what should have been a pitch-black canyon, it was strangely bright as if it were daytime. The dark golden divine radiance flowed like a river, illuminating the entire interior of the canyon. Savage, violent, sacred, supreme, heavy, various completely unrelated auras intertwined and integrated with each other, converging into an indescribable air of mystery that enveloped the entire canyon. In sight, there were grotesque bronze beast sculptures standing tall, vivid and terrifying for no reason. What was puzzling was that all these ancient beast sculptures were facing the central bronze tripod, their massive bodies all in a bent position, as if they were bowing down to something. Zhangzan cautiously walked forward and arrived in front of the bronze tripod. The bronze tripod was 10 zhang tall, resembling a small mountain, exuding a majestic aura that made people involuntarily feel awe. The uneven surface of the tripod was engraved with mysterious divine patterns of mountains, rivers, birds, and beasts, exuding a faint sense of profound charm, as if it contained the obscure and incomprehensible principles of the heavens. Zhangzan subconsciously reached out and touched the patterns on the tripod. Buzz! A deep and profound light swept up, piercing Zhangzan's palm like a needle. Zhangzan felt pain, furrowing his brows, and instinctively wanted to retract his hand, but a tender dragon's roar echoed in his mind, as if guiding him to maintain his current state. As the true dragon about to hatch, Zhangzan pondered. He then firmly pressed his palm against the tripod. Fresh blood surged from his palm, slowly flowing along the grooves on the tripod, as if depicting something. Crack, crack, crack. A crisp sound came from inside the bronze tripod. A sacred aura surged out like a vast ocean, instantly filling the entire canyon, rolling and spreading in all directions from the center of the canyon. Wherever the aura swept, the ferocious and monstrous beasts all stared blankly, trembling with deep fear and awe, prostrating on the ground uncontrollably. The group of geniuses were amazed at this scene. Seeing the trembling beasts, they were too excited to think deeply and immediately wanted to start harvesting. These were all points. If they could seize the opportunity to slaughter hundreds or even thousands of these beasts, they would definitely be able to rank in the top 10 of the points leaderboard and have the opportunity to enter the divine tomb and receive the ancestral inheritance. But at this moment, roar, a resounding dragon's roar, as if a majestic heavenly sound, reverberated through the heavens and the earth, causing the entire wasteland to tremble. Countless mountains cracked, revealing shocking ravines. Then, the sky changed, and the wind and clouds reversed. The originally hazy sky seemed to be stirred by a giant hand, revealing a deep vortex. Profound principles, dazzling divine symbols, mysterious Tao patterns, supreme rules, like expelled lambs, emerged from behind the void, layer upon layer, connecting with each other, gradually outlining a massive phantom. With the Tao as its eyes, the golden light of divinity soared into the sky. With divine symbols as scales, countless divine symbols and golden scales covered its body, emitting a cold and sharp light, tearing through the void. With Tao patterns as claws, it moved through the air with 4 claws, accompanied by countless Tao patterns, as if the heavens and the earth were under its control. With rules as horns, endless rules surrounded it, and its majestic twin horns stood tall, displaying an overwhelming dominance that covered the sky and earth. Seemingly chaotic and disorderly, many divine phenomena were perfectly integrated on this phantom, as if everything was born from this phantom. Roar. The phantom's eyes slightly closed, emitting a low dragon's roar, then quickly contracted, turning into a golden light, breaking through the void, and shooting towards the bronze tripod in the 10,000 Zhang Canyon. The vision dissipated, but the originally ferocious and violent wasteland fell into a strange silence. The beasts that were crawling on the ground all stood up, quietly rushing towards the direction of the 10,000 Zhang Canyon with fanatical gazes. The speed is fast, but there is not a single sound. If one were to overlook this bizarre scene, they would surely be dumbfounded, even terrified. All the beasts are returning. Meanwhile, the group of Tianzhao who were originally hunting the exotic beasts were all stunned in place, their faces filled with shock and excitement that they could hardly contain. That figure is a true dragon. Could it be that there is still a true dragon inheritance in the secret land of the beasts? Everyone's hearts were ignited with excitement, and they all set off for the canyon. If they could truly obtain the true dragon inheritance, they would undoubtedly be able to forge an unparalleled Tao foundation, ascend to the realm of true gods in the future, even surpassing the realm of true gods, and travel through the celestial wonders realm, exploring the various heavens. If we can obtain the true dragon inheritance, why bother hunting exotic beasts? No matter how powerful the ancestral inheritance is, it is far inferior to the true dragon inheritance. Zhang Feng twisted his neck and burst into laughter. Boom! Before his words could even fall, he had already turned into a stream of light and shot towards the 1,000-foot canyon. The true dragon inheritance is mine. Zhang Bei's eyes flickered as he transformed into a sword light, tearing through the sky. Zhang Minghao was the same, a smile hanging on the corner of his mouth as he stepped into the air, his goal set on the true dragon inheritance. A bunch of fools. Looking at the impatient appearance of the Tianzhao, Zhang Chengqin let out a disdainful laugh. What can you achieve by going ahead? Even if you obtain the true dragon inheritance, so what? In the end, you will all have to spit it out for me. Zhang Universe Palm pointed out with the aura of yin and yang, tapping the mountain and river fan, intending to summon Zhang Shang and the others back. With these 3 followers, all in the mid-stage of the spirit transformation realm, he would be able to dominate this barren land, and the true dragon inheritance would naturally be within his grasp. However, as he pointed his finger and infused it with the aura of yin and yang, the secret command could not be transmitted. Ha! The smile on Zhang Chengqin's face disappeared, replaced by a gloomy expression. He muttered under his breath, useless. If the secret command couldn't be transmitted, there were only 2 possibilities. One was that there was a barrier that the secret command formation couldn't penetrate, but since they were all in the barren land, this possibility naturally didn't exist. The answer was obvious. Zhang Shang and the others were dead. They actually died at the hands of exotic beasts, a bunch of useless people. Zhang Chengqin's face darkened, and a cold light flickered in his eyes. I hope you have already eliminated Zhang Zan before you died, otherwise, don't blame me for seeking revenge on your loved ones. Zhang Zan was only in the nascent soul realm, definitely not a match for Zhang Shang and the others. In Zhang Chengqin's eyes, Zhang Shang and the others must have encountered a powerful exotic beast and perished accidentally. The death of 3 followers didn't really bother him. With his esteemed position as the inheritor of the yin and yang true transmission, he would never lack talented Tianzhao who would submit and follow him. What he was unhappy about was that he didn't know whether Zhang Zan was dead or alive right now. Forget it, let's first obtain the true dragon inheritance. If Zhongzhan is still alive, I'll deal with him then. Before his words could even fall, Zhang Chengqin had already stepped into the air and headed towards the 1,000-foot canyon. So this kid actually succeeded. The ancient ancestor's expression was slightly strange. This kid has such great luck. It had been nearly 10 million years since the second-generation ancestor opened the secret land of the beasts to refine and transform the true dragon egg. During these 10 million years, there were indeed Tianzhao disciples who had obtained the secret of the true dragon egg and eagerly went to hatch and tame the true dragon hatchling, but they all returned empty-handed. In fact, when he and the mountain ancestor underwent the ancestral trial, they had also tried, but faced with the silent bronze tripod, they all ended up with nothing and had to give up reluctantly. After all, for the true dragon hatchling to break out of its shell, it required enough time and energy, as well as unimaginable opportunities and luck. This kid has astonishing luck, and he is indeed a monstrous talent. The mountain ancestor's eyes were deep as he calmly said, but, if he wants to hold on to the true dragon hatchling under the covetous eyes of so many Tianzhao, it will depend on his true abilities. Let's not even talk about the disciple with the bloodline reversion hiding in the dark. Just looking at the 4 young lords, Zhongzhan's strength is at the bottom. It's not so easy to tame the true dragon hatchling. At the bottom of the Wanzhong Gorge, sacred golden light shot out and poured into the interior of the bronze cauldron. Roar! A tender dragon's roar resounded once again. This time, it was not just in Zhongzhan's heart, but a real intangible sound coming from within the bronze cauldron. It echoed out, one after another, from faint to loud, from weak to powerful. The tender dragon's roar was rapidly growing at a visible speed. After a moment, the invisible dragon's roar even materialized into ripples of golden light, spreading out like tangible waves, layer by layer, radiating outward. Nothing could stop or hinder these ripples. Even the fierce bronze beast sculptures and rugged cliff walls of the gorge would easily be penetrated. However, strangely, when these ripples passed through Zhongzhan, they all abruptly disappeared, as if they had merged into Zhongzhan's body. Zhongzhan was unaware of this. He was focused on the blood flowing from his palm. Like an unending stream, the blood flowed and spread along the patterns on the cauldron, gradually staining the dark blue cauldron red. In Zhongzhan's perspective, this scene seemed like an army covered in scattered blood, step by step attacking and devouring this magnificent bronze cauldron. This process seemed extremely slow. Slow to the point that the entire barren land, with tens of thousands of exotic beasts, had gathered around the cliffs of the Wanzhong Gorge, prostrating on the ground with a fanatical and inexplicable reverence towards the gorge. And the more than 300 outstanding individuals from the Zhang family who participated in the ancestral trial had already broken through the black mist, falling into the gorge and appearing within Zhongzhan's line of sight. Obscure gazes focused on Zhongzhan. They had some guesses, but they didn't dare to act rashly. The vision of the true dragon's shadow might have been triggered by Zhongzhan, but the true dragon inheritance had not yet appeared. They couldn't be sure if disturbing Zhongzhan would disrupt the timing of the true dragon inheritance manifesting in the world. Therefore, they chose to silently wait, waiting for the emergence of the true dragon inheritance. In Zhongzhan's perception, this process was extremely fast. His consciousness was drawn by the patterns on the bronze cauldron, sinking into it, entering a mysterious and clear state. In the depths of his mind, he heard some extremely distant voices, so distant, as if they came from the other end of time. Descendant of the Zhang family, I am Zhang Kong, the second-generation patriarch of the Zhang family. When I traveled through the stars, I accidentally obtained this true dragon egg. After countless deductions, I opened this secret land of 10,000 beasts. This time, I offer the true dragon egg to refine and transform it into the guardian beast of our Zhang family. The true dragon is the overlord of the heavens, unruly, domineering, and unyielding. Even a newly hatched true dragon hatchling is the same. To completely subdue it is not an easy task. Descendant of the Zhang family, you must soak the bronze cauldron with your blood and master the divine ability seal left by me on it. Only with this divine ability seal can you control and subdue the true dragon hatchling. Note that this divine ability seal was created by combining a great divine ability with the bloodline of the Zhang royal family. Those with a bloodline concentration of less than 90 in the Zhang family should not rashly activate the seal, as it may backfire and deplete their blood essence, leading to death. Remember, as his consciousness returned, Zhongzhan's eyes revealed astonishment. Bloodline concentration of 90. This wasn't specifically tailored for him, was it? After all, even the bloodline concentration of the second-generation ancestor was only 93. Since the second-generation ancestor, there were only a few descendants of the Zhong family with a bloodline concentration of 90. Am I going to undergo a transformation? Zhongzhan's mind stirred, but he immediately recalled his experiences in the past decade or so, especially the incident with the Thunder ancestor a few days ago. He couldn't help but have doubts. Could there be some kind of deception going on? However, now it seemed like it was too late to regret. Zhongzhan looked at the bronze cauldron in front of him, and his mouth couldn't help but twitch. His blood had already soaked the entire cauldron. The enchanting blood flickered, sometimes bright and sometimes dim, and under the reflection of the cauldron, it gradually condensed into strange bloodlines. The bloodlines intersected and weaved, forming mysterious and ancient blood-brown seals, as if containing supreme meaning. The seals flew out on their own and surged into Zhongzhan's body. Zhongzhan suddenly had a profound feeling, as if he had established an indescribable connection with the true dragon hatchling inside the cauldron. He seemed to be able to sense the emotional changes of the true dragon hatchling. "Daddy, I want to go out." The tender voice of a child echoed in Zhongzhan's mind. Zhongzhan was momentarily stunned. Did he just tame a real dragon cub? It seems too easy, right? This doesn't fit my usual experiences, does it? Of course, it could also be because of my recent rapid progress, bringing about some unexpected disasters. For me, it's nothing significant. After a moment of silence, Zhongzhan reluctantly accepted this fact, adjusted his mood, and planned to further communicate with the real dragon cub. However, the long-trapped real dragon cub was eager to break free from its restraints and leave this cramped space. Its body was surging and colliding randomly. Crack, crack, crack. The bronze cauldron, deprived of its restraining energy, appeared like a useless piece of porcelain in front of the powerful physique of the real dragon cub. It quickly revealed cracks. The group of geniuses subconsciously held their breath, filled with anticipation and growing excitement. Soon, boom, a heavy roar. The bronze cauldron suddenly collapsed, and fragments scattered all over the ground. The golden and radiant real dragon cub leapt out, shining like the sun that illuminates the world. With its sacred golden light, it illuminated the deep ravine, dispelling the thick black mist and shooting out, shining throughout the desolate land. The unique arrogance and domineering supreme power of the true dragon, like a surging tide, spread out and suppressed the heavens and the earth. The countless exotic beasts crawling on both sides of the ravine were ecstatic, bowing repeatedly and emitting deafening roars, respectfully welcoming the birth of the supreme true dragon. Inside the ravine, a real dragon cub. All the geniuses showed shocked expressions, and their eyes gradually turned red. Even their breathing involuntarily became rapid. They thought it was the birth of the true dragon heritage, but they never expected it was actually a living pure-blooded real dragon cub. The true dragon heritage was undoubtedly powerful, even surpassing sacred arts, but no matter how powerful it was far inferior to a living true dragon. It should be noted that adult true dragons possess terrifying power comparable to gods and demons. If they could successfully tame it, it meant that they would have an additional god or demon to assist them. This would bring unimaginable benefits to their future path of enlightenment. In almost an instant, Zhang Bei had already rushed towards the real dragon cub with his sword. If he could obtain the real dragon cub, he would undoubtedly surpass the 4 leaders and seize the position of the young clan leader. Zhang Bei, the real dragon cub is not something you have the qualifications to meddle with. Zhang Feng's eyes widened in anger as he shouted, rushing out to block Zhang Bei. From the moment the real dragon cub was born, he already regarded it as his own. Anyone who dared to covet it would die. Of course, who among the geniuses present didn't have the same idea as Zhang Feng? Zhang Haoming, who appeared as ethereal as an immortal, turned red with envy. Zhang Qiankun, who considered himself invincible, became flustered. Over 300 geniuses all moved. They all unleashed their strongest divine abilities and rushed towards the real dragon cub. Wealth and treasures move people's hearts, let alone a divine beast like the real dragon cub. Even if they had to die, they would fight for it. On the other hand, Zhongzhan, who was originally the center of attention among the geniuses, was now completely ignored by everyone and became a bystander. Watching the increasingly frenzied crowd fighting, a faint smile appeared on Zhang Zan's lips. Interesting. Zhang Zan watched the chaotic battle of more than 300 talented individuals with a smile on his face. He was not in a hurry at all. In fact, he casually took out a small stool and some melon seeds, found a good and hidden spot with a good view, sat down, cracked open the melon seeds, and enjoyed the show. Although he was eager to secure the top spot on the leaderboard and break through his cultivation limit using Dao medicine to establish an unparalleled foundation, he was even happier to see this group of people fighting each other like dogs. In fact, he was even looking forward to it. He hoped that these talented individuals would take turns attacking Zhang Chenkin and bury him. Even if they couldn't bury him, severely injuring him would be enough. He would then deliver the final blow and send him to the afterlife. Originally, he had no connection with Zhang Chenkin, except for the conflict of interest over the position of the young clan leader. This could be openly discussed and competed for fairly. If he was not as skilled, he would not have any complaints. In fact, in the Four Supreme battle, this rule was generally accepted. But Zhang Chenkin didn't play fair. He actually sent someone to secretly assassinate him. He killed Zhang Chenkin's subordinates. A grudge was formed. He had to do everything he could to kill Zhang Chenkin as soon as possible, to prevent him from causing any more trouble. The chaotic battle of more than 300 talented individuals continued, becoming more intense. Brilliant spells, sharp sword energy, surging blood. The canyon was filled with constant rumbling, and the fierce killing intent was chilling. Bronze beast sculptures were shattered and covered in splattered blood. There were many injured. Perhaps, at the beginning, everyone had reservations and held back their techniques. After all, they were all from the same clan, sharing the same bloodline, and it was not easy to kill each other. But at this stage of the battle, most of them were already injured, and a fire naturally ignited in their hearts. Coupled with the irresistible temptation of the true dragon's offspring, their killing intent gradually emerged. The chaotic battle escalated once again. And it was clearly divided into 5 areas. Zhang Chenkin, Zhang Haoming, and Zhang Feng were at the center, surrounded by their talented individuals and followers, forming 3 factions. There were also smaller factions that were relatively weaker, knowing that they were not strong enough to compete against the 4 Supremes. They decisively chose to band together, with Zhang Bei as their leader, and had secretly reached an agreement. In any case, the 4 Supremes had to be kicked out first. The last area was somewhat strange. They were the talented individuals of Zhang Zan's faction. They were now somewhat troubled and at a loss. The other 3 Supremes had already gathered their forces and started a factional battle, but they hadn't even found Zhang Zan yet. Helplessly, they had to retreat a distance and watch from the sidelines. It was only through direct confrontation that the talented individuals truly understood the strength of Zhang Chenkin and the other 2 Supremes. They could easily handle 10 opponents at once. It should be noted that outside of this battle, they were all rare talents that appeared once in 1,000 years. Sweeping through the same level and fighting across borders was a common occurrence for them. With their strength, even a dozen people could fight against a profound Earth realm expert. In other words, the strength of Zhang Chenkin and the other 2 Supremes was probably already on par with the profound Earth realm. The chaotic battle had reached a stalemate. This made Zhang Zan, who was watching the show, extremely anxious. He was still waiting for Zhang Chenkin to be injured so that he could make his move. Don't be stupid. Zhang Zan couldn't help but curse. Why are you more than 200 people scattering? Just gang up on Zhang Chenkin and kill him already. But Zhang Zan only muttered to himself in a low voice. After all, if he really shouted this out, he didn't know if these people would listen, but there was a high probability that they would notice him and focus their attacks on him. After all, he was also one of the 4 Supremes, and his cultivation in the nascent soul realm made him an easy target. Daddy, what are you eating? I want some too. At this moment, a fair and chubby little arm suddenly appeared in front of Zhang Zan, waving a small hand. Ling fruit seeds obtained from the clan elders, roasted melon seeds. Zhang Zan subconsciously responded, but halfway through his words, he suddenly froze. Where did the voice come from? He looked to the side and saw a little girl with braided hair standing next to him. Her 2 big watery eyes stared straight at him, and the melon seeds in his hand. Zhang Zan felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. When did this girl appear? He didn't even notice it at all. The most crucial thing was that Zhongzhan noticed that this girl was floating above the ground. Moreover, there was no trace of spiritual power fluctuations. This meant she could fly. Apart from the naturally flying exotic beasts and divine objects, it seemed that only those who reached the profound earth realm could do it without using spiritual power or relying on external objects. Zhongzhan froze, subconsciously recalling the past, and immediately concluded that this seemingly harmless girl must be an old monster or the heavenly mountain child lady who had lived for countless years. "Daddy." The girl waved her little hand and, seeing Zhongzhan still in a daze, pouted and took the melon seeds from Zhongzhan's hand, stuffing them all into her mouth. She chewed loudly. The astringent taste of the melon seed shells surged, and the girl's face twisted, looking somewhat ferocious. "Pitui, Pitui, Pitui." Not only did the girl spit them all out, but she also used her little hand to pull her own tongue, trying to get rid of the bitter taste in her mouth. Zhongzhan watched this scene and couldn't help but laugh. This heavenly mountain child lady. Did her intelligence also regress to childhood? "Daddy, I'm hungry." The girl looked at Zhongzhan with a pouty face and called out in a distressed tone. "Daddy." Zhongzhan was a little confused. Looking at the girl with big eyes, listening to her somewhat familiar voice, his eyes widened, and he finally reacted, "You're the true dragon hatchling." The girl nodded vigorously. Zhongzhan was dumbfounded. Turning his head to look at the chaotic group of geniuses still in the air about 1,000 zhong above their heads, the golden and radiant true dragon was still hovering there, emitting a terrifyingly dominant dragon aura. Wasn't the true dragon hatchling there? Withdrawing his gaze, Zhongzhan looked at the girl again. "Oh, Daddy is so silly." Perhaps due to their connection, the girl saw through Zhongzhan's thoughts. She shook her twin ponytails and smiled mischievously. "That was my illusion. These people wanted to take me away from Daddy. HMPH. They're all bad people." The girl wrinkled her nose, showing disgust. "They want me, so let them try to take me. It would be best if they all die." Zhongzhan was shocked. Setting up an illusion, using himself as bait to provoke a fight among the geniuses. Could this really be thought of by a newly hatched true dragon hatchling? This thing, could it really be the heavenly mountain child lady? "Daddy, I'm hungry. I want to eat something." The girl looked at Zhongzhan, blinked her sparkling big eyes, and showed a pitiful expression. Zhongzhan fell silent. He felt a little uneasy in his heart and cursed inwardly. "I knew it wouldn't be so easy to tame a true dragon hatchling according to my life script. It's all a trap. This can't be a true dragon hatchling. It's clearly an old monster disguised as a hatchling." If he didn't possess the divine ability left by the second-generation ancestor, and was confident that he could fully control the other party, including life and death, he would have already used all 36 strategies to escape. Zhongzhan pondered for a moment, not directly refusing, but finding a reasonable excuse. "I also want to take you to eat, but I can't leave right now." Zhongzhan shrugged, informing the other party about the points trial for hunting exotic beasts, and then squeezed out a smile. "When I surpass everyone in points and become the first, I'll take you out to eat, okay?" The girl bit her finger, her big eyes turning, and after thinking for a moment, she asked, "As long as I have the blood essence of exotic beasts, can I get points?" Zhongzhan nodded. "Then if I get all the blood essence of exotic beasts, can we go out directly?" The girl's eyes lit up. Zhongzhan was at a loss. That's what she said, but this 10,000 beasts secret land has tens of thousands of exotic beasts, among which there are even profound earth realm existences. If he were to obtain all their blood essence, wouldn't that be nonsense? "Daddy, watch me," the girl said confidently. The little girl raised her hand and directly lifted Zhongzhan up. Mysterious rules spread throughout her body, like a special barrier, shielding everyone's sight. Carrying Zhongzhan, she quietly left and flew out of the deep ravine. Of course, even without this reason, those geniuses who had already harbored murderous intent probably wouldn't have noticed that Zhongzhan had already left. Even if they did notice, they probably wouldn't care. They might even use disdainful eyes to watch Zhongzhan leave. After all, the true dragon cub was hovering above their heads. The divine beast was still there, and they would never give up, no matter what. As they walked out of the deep ravine, they were greeted by countless crawling exotic beasts, densely packed together. The natural aura emanating from them condensed into a thick black cloud, creating an indescribable shock that struck them. Zhang Zan's expression slightly changed. Why were there so many exotic beasts gathered here? If these exotic beasts were to go into a frenzy, no matter how many means he had, he would still have to stay here. After all, he could sense the aura of no less than 10 profound Earth Realm exotic beasts. Zhang Zan's gaze involuntarily turned towards the little girl. Now, he could only trust this Tiantian child lady, who was disguised as a true dragon cub. He hoped that she could really deliver on her promise. Daddy, watch me. The little girl grinned and shouted, wow, towards the tens of thousands of crawling exotic beasts. There was nothing special about it, at least in Zhang Zan's eyes, it seemed that way. But a breathtaking scene unfolded. Tens of thousands of exotic beasts all lowered their heads in unison, pressing close to the ground and emitting low roars. It was as if they were responding to the little girl. To Zhang Zan's ears, these exotic beasts seemed extremely excited and devout, like fanatical believers who had received divine revelations. The different tones of their roars overlapped, creating a sound like the thunderous roar of a mythical ox, heavy and resounding, spreading in waves through the air. The world changed, and the entire wasteland seemed to tremble. Buzz. From the robust bodies of these exotic beasts, drops of brilliant blood floated up and slowly flew towards the little girl, gathering into a pool of blood. It worked. The little girl held the pool of blood in her small hands and brought it to Zhang Zan. Her big eyes sparkled mischievously. Daddy, if you promise me that after we leave, you'll take me to eat delicious food, I'll give you the blood of the exotic beasts. Zhang Zan looked at the pool of blood, then at the little girl, his expression somewhat complicated. He was now even more certain that this seemingly cute little girl was definitely an old monster from the True Dragon clan. She claimed to be a newly hatched True Dragon cub, but she clearly used some kind of secret technique to be reborn and live a second life as the Tiantian child lady. Which youngling could hatch and immediately start scheming, using illusions to lure geniuses into fighting each other. Which youngling could command tens of thousands of beasts with a single, wow, and willingly contribute their blood. Fortunately, he had control over her life and death with the Prohibition Talisman. Otherwise, with her ability to casually command exotic beasts, he would have died in an instant. Thinking of this, Zhang Zan became less worried. After all, he held absolute control, so it didn't matter if she was an old monster from the True Dragon clan. Of course, he still had to play along. As Zhang Zan took the pool of blood, he reached out and touched the little girl's head, smiling. I'll take you to eat delicious food when we leave. You can eat whatever you want, eat to your heart's content. Yay! The little girl's eyes lit up, revealing a happy smile. Thank you, Daddy. As Zhang Zan received the pool of blood composed of the blood of tens of thousands of exotic beasts, the projection of the scoreboard hanging in the sky above the wasteland changed. Behind the words, Zhang Zan, the lonely number, 0, suddenly transformed into 1,270,011. His ranking also skyrocketed from the bottom, surpassing Zhang Bei with 70 points, Zhang Feng with 75 points, and even surpassing Zhang Minghao with 80 points and Zhang Chengqin with 100 points, instantly reaching the top of the leaderboard. Buzz. The scoreboard trembled violently, as if struggling. After a moment, with a loud bang, the scoreboard exploded. The shattered scoreboard turned into dazzling golden lines, splashing in all directions like sparks, scattering everywhere. Outside the barren land, on the great river, the ancient ancestor looked at the mountain ancestor with a bewildered expression and said, I remember, mountain ancestor, the scoreboard you refined has already given birth to a spirit, to some extent, it is comparable to a Dao tool, right? What? Exploded. The mountain ancestor waved his hand and retrieved the remnants of the scoreboard, gazing at Zhang Zan. After a long while, he withdrew his gaze and twitched his mouth, explaining in a speechless manner, Zhang Zan obtained the blood essence of all the exotic beasts in the 10,000 beast secret land in one go. No matter how hard the other geniuses try to hunt the exotic beasts, they cannot surpass Zhang Zan. In other words, Zhang Zan has already taken the first place on the scoreboard in advance, so the trial should end. But this situation has never happened before, and there has never been an example of ending the trial early. The spirit of the tool was just born not long ago, its spiritual wisdom is still weak, it can't handle it at all, and then, it collapsed. The ancient ancestor looked confused. The spirit of the tool collapsed on its own. This was the first time he had seen such a situation, and it was truly bewildering. If Zhongzhan were here, perhaps he would understand in an instant. In other words, the spirit of the scoreboard burned out its own CPU. So what should we do now? The ancient ancestor looked at Zhongzhan in the barren land and asked in a strange manner, these geniuses haven't even started to exert themselves. The mountain ancestor thought for a moment and smiled helplessly, let it end. Luck is also part of strength. If they don't exert themselves, they can't blame others. Immediately, the mountain ancestor waved his hand, sweeping away the surging river water, completely exposing the barren land. In a plain tone, he announced, the trial is over. The first on the scoreboard is Zhongzhan. The voice of the mountain ancestor fell into the barren land and reached everyone's ears. At the bottom of the 10,000-foot gorge, the geniuses who were desperately fighting seemed to be frozen in place, their faces filled with confusion. The trial is over. What's going on? Wasn't it supposed to be 10 days? How long has it been? Not even 2 hours at most. How did Zhongzhan become the first on the scoreboard? Zhang Chenkin, Zhang Minghao, and others had even darker expressions, and a surge of anger rose in their hearts. While they were competing for the true dragon cub, Zhongzhan secretly earned points behind their backs. How despicable and shameless. With this thought, Zhang Chenkin and the others all looked up at the true dragon cub hovering above them. The competition for the scoreboard had already been decided, and they had no time to regret it. Of course, they didn't really care too much. With their scores, there was no problem entering the top 10 and qualifying for the Divine Tomb. As for the reward of the first place on the scoreboard, if it's gone, it's gone. They wouldn't feel regret anymore. After all, no matter how precious the Tao medicine was, it was far less valuable than the true dragon cub. As long as they could snatch the true dragon cub, they would still be the ones with the greatest gains. Zhang Chenkin and the others naturally shared the same thoughts as the other geniuses. In this 10,000 longevity secret land trial, they couldn't afford to come back empty-handed, right? Therefore, the geniuses became even more frantic. They all unleashed their full strength and rushed towards the golden light shining above their heads, wanting to be the first to capture it. Get lost. Zhang Chenkin's yin and yang qi crazily circulated around him, pouring into the mountain and river fan, forming a world of mountains and rivers, suppressing everyone, striving to buy himself time. Just as he had imagined, Zhang Chenkin was the first to reach the true dragon cub. Looking at the majestic true dragon, Zhang Chenkin revealed an excited smile. If he could tame this true dragon cub, he would definitely be able to seize the position of the young clan leader and have a great chance of becoming the yin-yang sacred land's saint child in the future. Becoming a god was only a matter of time. With indescribable excitement and anticipation, Zhang Chenkin reached out his hand towards the true dragon cub. Buzz. The dazzling golden light dissipated like a mirage. The true dragon cub disappeared. Zhang Chenkin remained in the posture of reaching out his hand, frozen in midair, completely dumbfounded. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.